The Council open. This hybrid meeting is being conducted on a multi-locational basis in accordance with the Local Government and Election Wales Act and the arrangements of multi-location meetings agreed by the Council, which will operate alongside the Council's standing orders to ensure that we continue to take the democratic decisions in an open, transparent manner. Please note that today's meeting is being filmed for live and subsequent broadcast by way of the Council's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the Council. As you will see from the agenda papers, generally, the public seating areas are not filmed. However, by entering the meeting room, using the public seating area, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possibility use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting or for training purposes. As well as being broadcast live, a recording version will be available on the Council website about 24 hours after the meeting. With those members present in the Council chamber, please use their microphones to contribute to the meeting, and please remember to speak clearly into the microphone and to switch off the microphone when you have finished. For those attending the meeting remotely, can I request that you switch off your cameras and mute your microphones when you are not speaking, and to ensure that there is no unnecessary background noise, and to help with the audio and visual quality of the broadcast. The Council standing orders and code of conduct will apply at all times during this hybrid meeting in the same way as ordinary meetings, and members should conduct themselves accordingly. Members joining remotely are reminded that the use of the online chat function during the meeting is not permitted. For the benefit of members watching on the live stream, when I invite members to cast their vote remotely on a particular item, they will do so by raising their hand with their camera switch on so they can see the visibly for the duration of the vote. There will be a pause while the votes are counted. Please do not switch off your camera until I ask you to do so, as this will make it difficult to count the votes. Those members present in the Council chamber will vote in the same way by a show of hands. Welsh translation of the proceedings can be provided upon request. Right, I move now to item 1, apologies. I have 2 apologies at the moment. I have Councillor Thomas and Councillor Whitehead. Any other apologies? No. Any declarations of interest? No announcements. The announcement I have to make is a sad one, really, that Martin Buckler, a Newportonian, OBE, was the co-founder of the Terrace Higgins Trust and are proud of his Newport roots. He was instrumental in supporting the creation of a fast-track Newport, helping to lay the foundation of what is now fast-track Gwent. So our thoughts are with him and his family, obviously. Right, we move on now to item 2. Any matters arising, please, of the minutes of the previous meeting?
There seems to be an indication. I thought the leader was going to ask something. Apparently, at the last council meeting, I can't see any reference to it in the minutes, but of course, it's televised and it's on YouTube. Apparently, I haven't seen this, I have to say apparently, but I take your word that I got my figures slightly wrong. And so, if I got my figures wrong regarding the market, because that's what we're speaking about here, then I apologise to you. But maybe you would like to update and refresh us all as to what the figures are now, if I got them wrong.
Can I say that's a little bit unfair, because obviously he needs to have an understanding of that, but I accept that you've apologised. Well, I'm not saying that the leader can't get to those figures, but maybe I think it's a bit unfair for him to suddenly, out of the blue, give those figures now. Okay, but I'm sure you can get the figures at some stage. Right, we'll move on now to... it's got to be proposed and seconded in the minutes of the previous meeting. All those who agree with the minutes? The seconder, sorry? Seconder, yeah. All those agree? Any against? Any abstentions? I can't see anything, so that's carried then. Right, we move now to appointments presented by Councillor Spencer.
Excuse me, Mr. Member. All the appointments are in the relevant papers.
Right. Is that seconded? Thank you. All those agreed? Well, we don't know what we're agreeing on. I assume the ones that we've agreed anyway. Okay. We'll have to carry that. All those in favour then agree. All those against? Any abstentions? No, that's carried then. Right, we move on now to police matters presented by Superintendent Jason White. First of all, questions from the leader? Or do you want to... Sorry, you...
I'll be quick. So, we come to the end of the financial year, so I just want to give a bit of an overview as to where we are crime and ASB-wise for the city. So, overall, when you actually look at this financial year compared to the previous period, Newport has seen a reduction of 6% in overall crime. Across the city, the most significant proportionate sort of reductions that we've seen in that period of time has been within commercial burglaries, where we've seen almost 36% reductions, vehicle crime 23% reductions, and shoplifting just over 20%, and that's across Newport. What I would say, though, is there has been some increase in certain crime types. So theft from person, there's been an increase of just over 13.5%, and robbery just under 8%. But generally, across the board, crime for the last period compared to the previous year has gone down by 6%. When you break that down further, when you look at the city centre, an overall reduction of just over 7%, with strong falls in violence, with injury and vehicle crime. Newport East saw a reduction of 5.6%, which has been driven by decreases in burglary, vehicle crime, drugs and shoplifting. However, there has been increases in robbery, residential burglary and public order. And finally, Newport West. So the west of Newport has experienced the largest overall reduction of just under 11%, with substantial falls in commercial burglary, shoplifting, vehicle crime and residential burglary. And increases were confined to low-level categories such as theft from person. So that's the good news. The bad news, if you want to call it bad news, is that over the same period we've actually seen increases in antisocial behaviour. So that could be as a result of many things. One is that the way in which we record ASB these days in crime. And secondly, I'd also like to think that it's a result of people feeling more confident to report matters because they are being dealt with. And just to break that down a little bit more, so I said that there's a 7.1% increase in ASB across Newport over that period. Nuisance and environmental ASB has rose, while personal ASB, so that real personal ASB where it's person on person, has actually reduced, which I think is a really good metric to rely on. But a lot of these incidents that have seen increases, understandably, are linked to youths and substance misuse. City centre ASB saw the biggest increase of approximately 40%. And that has been driven by increases specifically in nuisance behaviour, with strong links to homelessness, begging, substance misuse and youth ASB. So I think it's really important at that juncture to impress upon the need, particularly on the city centre, and we've already seen it in the last couple of months, is that renewed partnership approach to tackling ASB on the city centre, which pleasingly, since November onwards, we have seen a downturn in ASB on the city centre. So it's very much a matter of business as usual. I've got some good news stories here, but I'm mindful of the time. But there's some really good work that's going on around the city. In the last month, since my colleague came and gave you an update during the month of January, we've done 11 drugs warrants. We've closed a number of premises due to or linked to drugs and ASB. The community action team in Bettis has really come from strength to strength and doing some sterling work out there in terms of knitting that community together and doing some really sterling work around some proactive warrants. And our engagement as well in terms of the number of surgeries, the number of activities that we're now recording with councils, with groups. It's really pleasing to see. So I'm going to stop at that point and take any questions from the floor.
Okay, Leader.
Thank you, Chief Superintendent. And it's really good news about the drop in crime across the city, and it's really pleasing to hear that. And thank you to you and all your staff for doing an amazing job and trying to keep our streets safe. ASB, as you know rightly, is I know you said personal instances of one-on-one has reduced, but ASB more generally creates that fear factor and inhibits people's feeling of being free to go around do their business, whether it be outside their door or in the city centre. And, you know, the key aspect of the police is offering reassurance. What more can we do together to offer that reassurance to deal with these? And it's usually persistent individual characters that cause the most mayhem.
So I'm pleased you raised that. So I think the biggest thing is visibility in our communities. And you'll see from the neighbour policing guarantee from the Home Office is a requirement for every ward within every force area to have a dedicated ward manager and PCSOs. And what I'm pleased to report in relation to Newport, but across all of Gwent, is that by the end of next month, so the end of this financial year, every single neighbour policing team will be up to full strength in terms of establishment. We've got several more intakes in terms of PCSOs, so again we'll be up to full establishment. And next month, for the first time in our history, is that we're now taking on 12 direct entry neighbourhood police officers as well to supplement that strength. So that's year one. We've also obviously invested in the community action team. So as part of that, you've already seen in Orway and now in Bettis, additional PCs and PCSOs who are working alongside our neighbour teams. But you're absolutely right. The key thing is partnership working. It's around sharing information with our partners and making sure that we target it through a sort of joined up collaborative approach. And all of that is going to be captured within next month. I'm finalising the Force's ASB action plan. And that is very much going to be a collaborative approach around how we target ASB, not as a one-off, but as business as usual.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Howells.
Thanks, Presiding Member, and evening, Superintendent. My question is in the context of my role as Cabinet Member for Infrastructure. Over the sort of past few months, we've encountered a few issues of police teams referring residents on to the council for enforcement, when in fact they were actually related to moving traffic offences. And obviously, in fact, the council's remit for enforcement of traffic is quite limited. It's limited to parking enforcement, and everything else, as it currently stands, still sits with the police, as I understand it. So it would just be useful if you could confirm that the police do currently have resources dedicated to moving traffic offences, and also, you know, if we could have that discussion to ensure that we're getting that clear messaging within the police and filtering out to residents as to what is in the council's remit and what is actually in the police's remit. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And this has been raised before in other parts of the force as well. So it's just not unique to Newport. So it is around messaging, it's around that clear comms and understanding. I'm more than happy to have a conversation offline to see exactly what examples that obviously that has come to your attention, but just by way of reassurance that we have got dedicated resources within our neighbourhood teams, within our community action teams, and within our traffic department as well to deal with those moving traffic violations.
Councillor Fairweather.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Chief Superintendent, I'm pleased to hear that crime is down in certain sectors, certainly in commercial burglary and as such. But could that be the case that a lot of our prominent offenders are currently at His Majesty's pleasure, and therefore they're not out there committing the crime as they usually do? But I wanted to ask you about, in particular, the special constabulary. I always said that in All Terrain I would like to have a regular special constable or two to patrol the ward, to supplement what we have. Because we don't often see a police officer on the beat in Altarine. It's a big ward, and I understand that, and it's quicker by car to get about. So I'm just wondering, what's the current strength of the Special Constabulary for Newport, and are there any plans to use them in the wards, and in particular, in the past, in the city centre, to supplement your officers, because they have the same powers to be able to do the job?
So I'll take the last question first. They already are being deployed in Newport to supplement the resources on Friday, Saturday night as part of our plans going forward. To the original point, we've probably around 51 special constables within force. I chaired a meeting today for our citizens in policing portfolio, which I've got, which includes special constables. So we've got 51 at the moment. We've got another 10 currently in training, and we've now gone, or shortly going back out for more recruitment as well. They do currently work alongside the neighbour policing teams and our response teams equitably across the force area. But we've got officers within Maindy, within Newport Central, and indeed in Pill. If you're more than happy, I can get one of the special sergeants. We've got 4 now, who can come and talk about some of the issues and get some dedicated patrols and visibility up in those areas.
I haven't got anybody else who wants to... Oh, sorry. Councillor Reeks.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Evening, Chief Superintendent. Firstly, I'd like to pass my thanks on to Inspector Jeff Smith. He organised another recent event monitoring the incorrect use of High Cross Road by HGVs, and it's pleasing to see it's had a positive effect on the area. But staying on traffic, it is noticeable there's a growing trend that I see throughout the city of motorists coming up to traffic lights and just blatantly ignoring red traffic lights and sailing through. This isn't just one area, it seems to be across the city. Is there anything more that can be done to try and enforce the fact that red light is red light before somebody actually gets seriously hurt? Thank you.
Thank you. I think the obvious is education. But just to reassure you and others in the chamber that we enforce as well, and particularly our roads policing support unit. I haven't got the stats to hand, but I can actually provide the stats in terms of those who have gone through red lights over this financial year, if that will help. But it's very much around education as well. And people always say, well, the police need to be there at the material time it happens as well. And we try and spread ourselves across the area, as you can well imagine. But yeah, it's about just reassuring you that, we do take that particularly seriously, and particularly within our roads policing department, because that is their bread and butter in terms of enforcing road traffic legislation.
Thank you. I don't think there's anybody... You must be good in all your wards at the moment then. There's one point I'd like to make, Superintendent, is this new network that is happening, certainly in Shaftesbury. I'm sure it's happening everywhere else. But have that information sent to us by email. I think it's Lucy in Shaftesbury with Jason and all that. And I can't fault the information that's coming from them, and I'm sure other people in the West would agree with that. I don't know what's happening in the East, but certainly having these regular meetings with Jason and the team and all that, and then the network coming through, I think is only very positive, really, that we've never had before.
Yeah, so this is the thing that I talked about previously. So it's a sizable investment, but it's a new messaging alert system called Neighbourhood Matters. So please, I would encourage anybody here, if you haven't seen it, go on, sign up, encourage the people living in your communities to sign up. And what will happen is that when people talk about crime, they talk about robbery and they talk about commercial burglaries and all the things that we've talked about today. But what we often overlook is what happens, what really affects people locally on a granular level. And that could be as simple as youth ASB on the corner, kids on their Ciron bikes up and down the street, or something really significantly low level, but significant for them as a concern. What this system does is that it will allow people to sign up, and then the system will automatically generate a quick survey, and we'll ask them exactly what are the issues that they're experiencing on that granular level. What will then happen is that will then be generated by the system. The officers and the wards will then become aware of that. And what the system does, it prevents heat maps. So almost it prevents, or it presents almost a patrol plan for officers to concentrate in those areas. And then what happens then, the system allows easily and accessible updates to then go back to those individuals based on the issues that they've identified at the outset. I think we've got something like 8,000 people signed up to the scheme at the moment in the last 2 months. So again, we want to try and get as many people signed up so we can identify the issues that are really pertinent and relevant to people in their areas. So yeah, it's a really good system.
Yeah, I can only say I find it really, really good. I haven't got anybody else to speak at the moment. I think you've got off light tonight. I think it's the sun got to their heads today. And I said, we're not used to it, are we? It's rain mostly. So can I thank you very much for attending and answering the questions. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we move on now to item 5. I don't think this will take long. It's the budget, the revenue budget. Councillor Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Colleagues, I present to Council the biggest investment in Newport's public services in 15 years. Of course, it's up to this Council to agree and set that budget and set the council tax and the fees and the charges. But this, make no mistake, is a huge investment in the areas that we've all talked about over the past year on issues and matters that affect all of us and all of our wards. On the consultation, Presiding Member, as you might know, we agreed our draft budget in January meeting of the Cabinet. We consulted with the people of Newport. We did listen to their views, and they came back to us with their views and preferences. We are grateful for the over 1,000 public participants in that feedback, and all the scrutiny committees and chairs who have also scrutinised everything this budget and the draft budget had outlined. As you well know, despite this big investment, we can't do everything everyone wants to do, but it's a good step in the right direction, which for nearly all my entire elected life has been austerity. In this budget, austerity is over. Local government works closely in partnership with Welsh Government, and they understand the value that we bring our local communities, the knowledge, the understandability, and more importantly, the accountability. This budget accepts, and thankfully accepts, the Welsh Government increase to our RSG, the highest in Wales, recognising Newport's growth in its population and school pupil numbers, which you know, you've heard me say many a times, Newport's the fastest growing city and indeed local authority in Wales. So the highest increase in RSG across Wales was nearly at £23 million. We supplement this with a council increase, which gives us a further £6 million of funding, and this is an increase to invest, as we all know, in the services and infrastructure the city badly needs. So on schools, our funding will increase by £8.4 million, a nearly increase of 6%. School budgets will not be diluted as we have more school children in our schools. We're giving extra funding for those schools, and we'll be providing more funding for new and growing schools as this city continues to expand. In addition, we are going to invest the support of our children with additional learning needs, and many of us are governors here, so we know the pressures our teachers and teaching assistants are facing on the front line. An extra £1.3 million in opening new resource bases in our schools across the city. The Chief Superintendent mentioned it. As the city expands and grows, housing pressure continues to grow, and we need to face what that means as a city. So therefore, we invest over £800,000 to support our increased costs in supporting individuals or families who are at risk or are homeless in this city. As we all know, developing new local provision for our looked after children is a key tenet of this council, indeed any council across our great nation. And as our youth population booms, over 10%, as I've said, looked after children population, and children who need further support need extra funds and extra support in those services. So this budget commits over 2.2 million to support our children in social care services, children who have increasing demand needs and complexity that we haven't seen, if we've ever seen, in this city. I'm also pleased to confirm our investment who provide residential care for our elderly residents. We will be funded to continue to pay the real living wage, so their care sector here is locally supported. This is a significant investment of £4 million in our social care sector. So investing in our young people, investing in our old people. Our budget here invests in fairer pay for our residents who work in this sector. Most of the people who work in our sector, in the social care sector, live and work in Newport. We all know someone, without maybe even realising, someone in care. And it's not politically the touch button on social media. You probably will never see it mentioned. You probably never heard someone talk about it in normal conversation. But I can assure you, the children and the elderly people this council look after, and many councils across this nation, it is one of the core tenets of the council's work. And these investments are absolutely critical. There are grandmothers, there are children, there are grandchildren. So we need to invest in these services. The one thing that is on everyone's lips is highways maintenance. Potholes, resurfacing of roads, line painting. Don't worry. They are on everyone's lips, all across social media, and quite rightly so. I'm a motorist, many of us, I assume, in this chamber are, and when you go over a pothole, it is beyond irritating. And some roads are unacceptable. No doubt about it. Despite our investment of 6.6 million last year, the most in 10 years, it's not enough. We need to do more. So our budget here proposes a further investment solely on resurfacing, solely just for resurfacing, of £12 million from borrowing, £1.5 million of top-up funding in cash terms from reserves, and an increase in our annual capital sums of £500,000 to continue to work. We also need to spend more really big on making the big differences to our communities. £200,000 for street improvements and street lights in our neighbourhoods. £105,000 of wider infrastructure improvements. £1 million for the Civic Centre roof, which needs massive repair. £150,000.
Leader, can you wind up, please?
For school building maintenance. These are important points,
I know,
presiding member. £200,000 to supply our main room enhancements. I haven't talked about regeneration or our school assets, which is a further £18 million. I'll finish up on this. There's lots more, but I'll finish up on this. It's important to note that No One Left Behind Fund, announced last year, will be also investing £500,000 in the community of Bettis. And we will, with the Bloomberg organisation, trying to support young people and tackle ASB, £250,000 for Broadmead and Moreland Park in the Liswery ward. There's more to say, and I will say it at the budget continues. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder? Right. Is there an amendment to the budget?
Yes, Presiding Member. On behalf of the Conservative Group, we would like to propose the amendments as set out on page 121. Members have had a chance to read that. I'm going to speak to it instead of read everything out, if that's okay with you, Presiding Member. I guess that is. Thank you. This budget is about restoring faith in Newport's highways. It's about restoring faith in people. people have quite often told us that we're not listening. Irrelevant of what you say with the listening council, they claim that what they say is falling upon deaf ears. But we on this side have listened, but we've listened intently. We have never experienced the state of our city roads before, presiding member, in such a poor, dilapidated state, where it's easier to find a pothole than it is to find a piece of road that doesn't contain one. This actually adds to the safety of the community. You know, transporting children to and from school with various needs and various medical conditions. If they go over a pothole, you endanger them. You endanger their lives as well. Because no matter how they react, they're not going to be experienced enough to contain going over it. That's why we are proposing that from the windfall, or additional money, as it is from the Welsh Government, that £6 million be placed into the highways budget this year on a recurring basis, and that £1.1 million be used to reduce council tax down to 3.7%. Hard-working residents of Newport cannot afford to continue to pay for these rises in the council tax. We also include the priority infrastructure investment, whereby capital reserves will receive an extra £500,000, capital financing £1.5 million.
Can you round up? Can you round up, please, Councillor Rheoli'r, please?
Okay, thank you, Presiding Member. I will. And transformation reserves will receive £1 million. The funding strategy we propose these investments are fully funded for 25-26, with the underspend. Any remaining shortfall will be covered in 26-27. What this side is doing is fiscally aligning ourselves with an uncertain future. We're not borrowing money to put Newport in hock. We do not know the outcome of the next election.
Councillor Rheoli'r, I gave the leader a little bit of leeway. I've given you a lot of leeway. Can you just wind up now and sit down then, please?
Okay.
Well, do it, please.
No,
do it then.
I will do it then.
Right, sit down, please, then.
Okay, well, don't keep on. Once is
Sit
enough.
down, please. Let's all be polite. The weather's nice. Let's have a bit of sunshine in here as well, is it? Right. Is there a second to that amendment? Yeah. Do you want to reserve your right? Right. Right. Who wants to speak on amendment then? Councillor Reeks.
Thank you, Presiding Member. The proposed amendment to the 2026-27 budget put forward by my colleagues today seeks not only to protect essential services that keep our city running and our residents safe, but moreover addresses key concerns of residents across the city. It has been shown that with some careful financial management, additional funds can be invested over a longer term into the road network that will improve the daily lives of road users of all ages. It will enhance the appearance of the city to visitors and reduce the claims markedly for damage to vehicles. I'm contacted more frequently now than I've ever been since becoming a councillor about the deteriorating state of the roads and the emergence of potholes, to the extent that even ardent Labour voters in my ward are questioning what is going on with the lack of investment in the infrastructure. To be able to demonstrate that we as a council are serious about not only tackling the problem, but tackling it more quickly than we've done previously, would show that we are indeed a listening council, we're a caring council, and above all, a council that gives value for money in the services we provide. Thank you.
Anybody else wants to speak on the amendment? Councillor Jones.
So I'd just like to make a few comments on, especially on Malthus Road. We're progressing with work on Malthus Road, which is a credit. However, when you look at the state that did get into before we started paying attention to it, it is a case of, it is a bit of a disgraceful road. I mean, embarrassing. The amount of people who spoke to us about it, it's great that we're spending money on it. But I believe the figures are 7.1 million on a windfall, 2.9 million coming forward on underspend. We've got 1.5 million coming from capital refinancing, that's 11.5 million. We're borrowing 11 million at a cost of 1 million on interest, and it's embarrassing to get this state. We've got this funds coming in now, we're using it wisely, the roads need more funding immediately onto it, and no, but we're on about recurring over year after year.
If you want to speak on it, get up and speak, okay? Don't go across the chamber.
So, out of respect, I don't jump on top of you, so please show some respect as well. However, on that point then, what I would like to say to you is, on top of all this windfall and all this money that we're talking about, investments, not one word is mentioned about Port Mews Bridge. The people live on Ireland. Nobody is spending money on it. It's embarrassing. You should be embarrassed as a council that you've done nothing over these years. You've left these people high and dry. So that's my statement with your statement for your for our amendment. Sorry, your budget don't even consider the issue I got on my ward, which has been there for years. Maybe say about roads, repairs, it is in that subject. And really speaking, it should be amended and included into any amendment. However, it's just embarrassing. I need to say that to you.
Leader.
Yeah. Councillor Jones, I was wrapped up, told to conclude quite quickly. There was £18 million, part of that borrowing will be in highways. Your vote will be noted, Councillor Jones, and how you vote. Your ward will be told as well. So they're investing less in roads, okay? So if they're listening, Council, they've said they want to spend less on roads next year than we're proposing. Make that make sense. They're defunding all our school investments. They're defunding all our community investments, no community wardens that we're proposing, no extra fly tipping officer, no HMO officer, all the things we've all discussed. It's not in your proposal. I've read it. There's no point shaking your head. It's not in there. Everything that's come up in this chamber, raised by opposition actually, in many of the instances, more action in these areas. I've listened and we're investing in them. So they don't want to invest in our sports clubs. Singly, the most popular thing we've announced, no £500,000 in our grassroots, no in our elite sports. That was a motion at the last council, was it not? I think it was unanimously voted that we should support our grassroots and elite clubs, and the Tories haven't got it in their budget. Can you make it? Like, I'm not even making this up. They haven't even got it in their budget. In fact, they don't want to fund it at all. So they want to spend less on roads and less on our communities, and yes, on our young people, even though we're the fastest growing city in Wales, particularly our under-16s. Conservatives, they just love austerity too much.
I've got Councillor Reynolds now. Can everybody make sure they speak through the chair, please, as well, and not stop tittering about over there?
Thank you, Presiding Member. I've got to be honest, when I first thought about speaking to this amendment, the first thing I had to do was actually get over the shock of seeing a Tory budget amendment in the first place. Because during 14 years of Tory austerity that we all endured, I don't remember a single alternative budget proposal from the opposition. I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't remember one. And that was because, as far as I can see, they knew that thanks to their national government, they knew they had no money to make any promises with. Now that our council has benefited from a Labour government in Westminster giving the best settlements to Wales in living memory, now they've got the luxury of spending Labour money. They've miraculously managed to find Theresa May's magic money tree. I don't know how they got with the gold, to be honest. Anyway, putting that aside, I've compared the Labour budget, I've read it through with the Tory amendment, and I thought if I try and take the politics out of it, if I actually voted for this amendment, how would I justify it to my ward residents? So I looked at the plus side, I thought, OK, on the amendment, the average resident, they will be 44p a week better off on their council tax. 44p a week. I don't know where you get your tea, but I certainly couldn't get a cup of tea for that. 44p a week. But when I speak to residents in Rhodstone West, I've got to be honest, when they bring up council tax, they're not asking how they can save less than 50p a week. They're asking what's the council tax being spent on. They want to know about how are we bringing down antisocial behaviour, how are we dealing with the potholes, how is the city centre being developed. Now, the leader's already articulated that we're going to spend 15 million on the roads. The Tory amendment suggests less than half of that. So if I was to vote for this amendment, I'd have to go back to the residents of Rhodstone West and tell them why I voted to spend less money repairing the potholes that they're all up in arms about. And like the leader says, you know, I'm a driver as well. They drive me potty. But you know, I don't fancy that conversation with my residents. We're proposing more money for neglected, abused, vulnerable children. I work in this sector, so it's a thing that's close to my heart. Again, I don't see anything in the amendment for that. I won't go through everything because I realise I'm running a bit short of time, but I see lots of investment in the original proposal, the original budget. And when I look at the amendment, I don't see that investment for schools, for children, for sports clubs. I don't see that. And I don't see how I could go back to my residents and justify voting for that. So I'll be proud to tell them that I voted against this amendment so that I can then vote for the budget. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councillor Corson.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I didn't write anything before I came along tonight because I looked at the amendment when it came through and I saw it on Facebook and I was like, is that it? Am I missing something? Like, really? Like, 6 million quid and Bandy council tax up by less than 45% than what we're 45 pence than what we're proposing a week. I was like, honestly, after all these years of not putting forward an alternative budget, that's the best you can come up with. Like, what did it take? Like 5 minutes? I mean, all right. It doesn't take into account anything about our city, our modern, forward-thinking city, our kids, our senior citizens that need our support. It doesn't even invest properly into the roads like we're proposing. It's just, I just looked at it and I was like, absolutely mind blown. And also, don't get me started on the fact that you've run it through AI and your spelling is Americanised with all the Zs instead of the S's. Come on, you could at least produce something in British English, couldn't you? I mean, nice try, boys. Come back again next year and have a go again. Thanks.
Right. Thank you, Presiding Officer. Well, like my colleagues, I'm a bit flabbergasted. I think, you know, I don't think I've ever, well, we haven't seen anybody, the opposition come to here with a budget proposal before, but when they do, it's actually worse than the one that's being presented, which is beyond bizarre, really. And I think what I want to know, really, from my portfolio is what do I cut? On your budget, do I go to Councillor Howells over there when we've been working on the No One Left Behind proposal for the last 12 months? Do I go to those estates and say, we're not going to pay for that? Do we have to go to our community centres and say, stop the work, we're not going to improve them? Do I go to the Rheoli'r Steddfod and say, don't come to Newport, our young people don't deserve it? Where do I make the cuts? Because at the end of the day, 2 plus 2 doesn't make 6. That's exactly what your budget is saying that we're going to do. And it's absolutely bizarre that you come here and spend 10 minutes talking about roads and then propose that we spend less on roads. It just doesn't make sense. You know, so it's beyond really, and you know, it really is worrying. Yeah, 3.7% will get you the headline. It'll get you into the odd social media page, but there's no substance to it. It's just continued austerity. I think my colleagues have said that. We're transforming Newport with unprecedented investment in our time, and we're not willing to subject our communities to more of the past when we're finally looking at a positive future, because that's what this budget is about. It's about investing in people, and you've just totally missed it, which is bizarre. So what I would say to colleagues is, you know, why vote for a D- when you can vote for an A+? That's the bottom line. So I'll be supporting the original budget and not the amendment, obviously. Thank you.
Before I ask the Deputy Leader, can everybody, when they're speaking, speak through the chair and rather than going across the... Because obviously it winds other people up then, and they want to make comments on that as well. Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Quite simply, this alternative budget is effectively presenting to us a long-term risk. Reducing the proposed council tax increase from 4.9% to 3.7% will cost £1.1 million. And this is not just for this financial year, but would be for every financial year going forward. This is a permanent reduction in our council tax base. So the obvious question would be, is how will we fund the recurring £1.1 million pressure in 27-28, and again in 28 and 29, and so forth? In addition, this proposed budget relies on an underspend and the subsequent...
Point of information and clarification. The amendment to the budget, even though it's reoccurring, it doesn't have to reoccur. It will be based upon at that time. It's a reoccurring budget, but it's within the control of this authority.
Councillor Rowley, please sit down, please.
A reduction...
Please sit down.
Yes.
Can it be explained to Councillor Rowley that a council tax base is an ongoing reoccurring figure? It incrementally increases year on year, and I carry on. In addition, the proposed budget relies on underspend and the subsequent accounting flexibility, thereby creating a structural gap for future years, essentially kicking the can down the road. Fiscal leadership is about making financial decisions that last beyond one financial year, and this proposed budget not only fails to deliver this, but lays bare the paucity and inability of our opposition to think strategically about the future of Newport and its residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mogford.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I didn't want to be controversial today, so I'm going to start off thanking the financial officers who helped us go through the details of this plan and told us that it was sound. Yeah? So this plan that we worked on, this amendment that we worked on, we spent some time and we took some good advice. Okay? So let's not be too critical of that side of it. Councillor Reynolds said that the taxpayers would be better off with an increase in council tax. Some of these council members here go on Facebook and say the UK national deficit is falling thanks to Labour. The UK national deficit is not falling. So there's a little bit of financial illiteracy going on here. People don't quite understand finance. Now, Councillor Routley's tried to explain what our amendment is about, okay, and the budget is looking for the next financial year and the amount of money that we're looking to spend. And as far as not remembering us putting in amendments to budgets, we have put in amendments before, and they've always been shouted down. It does take a lot of effort to put an amendment into a budget. It takes a huge amount of effort to think it through. If we were going to do a little bit of whataboutery, I would say to the leader, when he was in opposition, he would argue that council tax rises need to be reduced. He's on record as saying council tax rises need to be... Sorry.
Presiding Member, as a personal explanation, Monmouthshire was the highest council tax in Wales under a Tory administration. We're the third
Irrelevant.
lowest in Wales.
Irrelevant. I don't want your explanation. I've had your explanation. I asked the question before directly to you, and you replied. But I'm just telling. I'm just telling him.
Right, yeah, but look, let's get to the point. It's got nothing to do with it, Monmouthshire, isn't that? He was in a different council then, wasn't he, at the time?
No, but what Councillor Rheoli'r said is we listen to residents. Residents tell us that they are tired of year-on-year above inflation rate rises in council tax. That's not, you can't, I don't want you to deny it.
Presiding member, sorry, their proposal is above inflation. Their proposal above 3.7 is above inflation as well.
Well, an argument, a fallacious argument. What I said was, I think I said, was that residents are fed up with above inflation rise, right? We have attempted...
Excuse me, Leader, please don't keep going back. Whoa, a minute, right. Let's not have this. If it's a point of order, raise as a point of order. What I'm saying is, let's go across the chamber, right? You speak, but make sure it's...
I'm trying to talk about council tax rises.
Okay, right.
Year on year, we have seen compounded council tax rises that have put a huge strain on the residents of Newport. That's a fact. We've listened to residents. I'm sure you've listened, but there's a difference between listening and reacting to what you've heard. So we have tried to put some money aside to reduce the council tax. If Councillor Rheoli'r is right, and this is a windfall, you're spending this windfall money. Let's put some of this money back.
Point of order, presiding member. They're not proposing a reduction in council tax.
I want to know what the point of order is before she continues.
Point of clarification, then, is
I want to know what it is.
Councillor Rheoli'r, sit down, please.
Okay.
Sit down, please.
We have a right to know what it is. The legal officer should answer this question. Before she gives it, she should tell us what point of order it is.
Never mind she, you shouldn't mention things like that as Councillor Corton. Councillor Corton raised a point of
clarification, please. Right. Councillor Mogford states that there's a decrease in council tax that they're proposing. They aren't proposing a decrease, or as they say in their budget, a council tax relief. What they're proposing is less of a rise, and I think we need to be clear about that.
Okay, that's semantics. Our proposal... It is semantics. Our proposal clearly calls for a lower rise in council tax. Is that clear? Yes? Right. The residents of Newport tell us, they tell you, that they are fed up of high, above inflation council tax rises. Now, there's different measures of inflation. There's the CPI, the CPIH, the RPI, yeah? And you do well to understand that when you put out your releases. And we are getting these high rises. We get in these high rises. We know next year's an election year, and we anticipate that you will be arguing for lower council tax rises next year. Thank you.
Presiding member, just to be clear, we've had lower tax rises each and every year since I've been leader.
All right. Okay, Councillor Screen.
Diod, presiding member. It seems to me that this amendment is really a headline-grabbing amendment, isn't it? To be fair, it's just say, we're going to reduce council tax. It's the same old Tory mantra, isn't it? Reduce taxes. And we've had 14 years of austerity as a result of that. The increase in council tax is quite modest, one of the lowest in Wales. And we're investing in services that people rely on, that people want. What we're getting is the same old story from the Tories. We'll reduce. It's all smoke and mirrors, isn't it? Because you reduce council tax and then you don't invest. So people think, yeah, we'll have a reduced council tax, but then the sting in the tail is there's no new or further investment, and that's what they don't tell you about. So really, it's a con trick. You're trying to con the residents of Newport by saying something and making people feel they're getting something, but in actual fact, your amendment means that people will get a lot less. Diod, thanks, Presiding Member.
Point of order. Is he allowed to call this a contract? This effort has gone through the legal department. The financial department. If we're conning the public, they're complicit. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I will, of course, be supporting this amendment because we simply cannot ignore the massive elephant in the room, aka the potholes. You could be forgiven, if it wasn't for the weather, for thinking that we were living in Kazakhstan or Mozambique. It's all very convenient to blame austerity and the weather, but the stark reality is you have never invested property in the roads and pavements. When we took over in 2008, there was a huge backlog of repairs, and that had been under UK Labour governments, Welsh Labour governments and Newport Labour councils. What was your excuse then? Admittedly, it wasn't as dire as it is today, but your Welsh Government have been responsible for funding this for 27 years. Don't forget, the vast majority of Newportonians use the roads and pavements. The elderly and infirm, social workers, teachers, bus users, cyclists, and it's vital that something is done about them. This is technically £6.5 million additionally forever, not just a one-off. And as for council tax, it's funny how Sakir, in opposition, called for no increase. Your colleagues did the same here, no increase in council tax, when we had that brief but extremely productive time in control. And other councils appear to be listening to feedback from residents. A 4.5% plus 4.95% increase has been reduced to a proposed 3.95%, lowering its proposed increase in a sustainable way. It is reducing the burden people have with costs rising all over the place, from energy bills and all sorts of things like insurance. Those are the words of the Labour council leader in neighbouring Torfaen. He understands the cost of living pressures, Presiding Member. Why can't you? You keep saying it's only a few more pounds, but the reality is different. In 2012-13, when he took back control of the council, a Band D property was paying £826 a year and a Band I £1,995. For this financial year, a Band D under your proposal will be £1,676, while a Band I property £3,910. That's a staggering increase. It's virtually doubled. Residents are sick and tired of paying more for less, and that's why I'm supporting this amendment.
All right, I've got Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Let me just sort of see if I've got this clear. So far I've heard that, I think Councillor Mulford said that Councillor Rheoli'r made it clear. I'm not so sure, because it's reoccurring, but it may not be reoccurring. So I'm a little bit lost on that. And Councillor Mulford said it's below inflation when it's above inflation. So again, I'm not really clear on that. It doesn't make sense to me, or else they've got something wrong. Councillor Evans says about the UK government and about what's the situation there. In 2024, Councillor Mulford said, I think the people of Newport are fed up blaming the UK government. So obviously there's contradiction there as well. Regarding the Torfaen situation, Torfaen has got a higher council tax than us. So whatever happens here, we are still below Torfaen. So again, I think that's a bit of a curveball. And secondly, fifthly, Councillor Evans said about 2008 when he took over the council, didn't you borrow for resurfacing? Thank you.
Point of clarification?
What's the clarification?
If I said it was below inflation, I misspoke. What I meant was it was below what Labour are proposing. And it's true. Okay, in the excitement, I might have misspoke. Let's have a look at the video. I might have misspoke.
Yeah.
Obviously, don't get excited.
All right, okay, we hear the point. Okay, right. Let's move on, shall we? Councillor Forsey.
Thank you, Presiding Member. It's clear that there's little enthusiasm for this very limited Conservative budget. It proposes less money for roads, less money for schools, no money for grassroots sport, no money for elite sport, no money for vulnerable children, no extra money for vulnerable children, less money for cleaning, less money for the fly tipping team, not investing in anything. That's the Tory way. The privatisation of water services was arguably one of the most damaging and ridiculous policies brought in by the Tories. I recommend to you the Channel 4 programme that was on last night, Dirty Business, if you can bear to watch it. It's about the damage that selling off our water companies have done to people and the environment. UK is possibly the only country in the world to have sold off water companies to overseas investors who do not invest but take profits. Profits are paid to investors rather than investing in services. This has led to the discharge of untreated sewage thousands of times a year. This is the Tory way: underinvestment, under-regulation and disastrous consequences. I support Newport and I vote for investment in our city and our services.
Polisi, Caliwami.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I personally don't see much difference between 4.9 and 3.7.
So, can we stop? Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. Stop. Can we stop this comments all the way through? I just wish in the budget there was automatic zips that I could put on members, that I could just press a button and stop you from making comments. Right, Councillor Aliwami.
Yeah, my fault for looking that way. So, if we are debating the amendment, can either the proposer or the seconder clarify for us, in weekly terms, for Bandy, what that 1.2% is? Because I make it less than £1. Now, I'm not sure, really. You know, you are reducing the burden on the people of Newport that much, really. From the ward meeting we had, there was hardly any question from the people there about the council tax level. I think they appreciated, you know, and for the first time, I have to say, maybe not the first time, last year we had a good budget as well. You know, we were not discussing services cuts, really, which I think the people in my ward, at least, and I'm pretty sure in the rest of Newport, value far more than the pound they might save, you know, by going from one rate to the other. So I would be supporting, not that I would like to see a high council tax on people, but I value services. I like to see those maintained, and that is a good value for money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aliwami. Councillor Howells.
Thanks, Presiding Member. I just wanted to address Councillor Evans's comment that it's a convenient excuse to point to austerity as being the reason for the pothole issue, that situation that we're in. It's not a convenient excuse. It is the reason that we're in this situation. It's a shame such damaging austerity policies were pursued by the Conservatives in Westminster over the past decade or more. Were it not for inadequate financial settlements coming to this council, we could have got on with this job a lot sooner. We certainly wanted to. And I think it's worth pointing out that, you know, of the £6 million that is being proposed in this alternative budget, that's less than the £6.6 million that we invested in last year's budget. So you talk about being a listening party. Well, if you are listening at all, you're listening a year later than we were. So I think it's important to make that point. And let's not pretend that potholes are just a Newport or a Wales-based issue. It's a UK-wide issue, and that obviously points to poor decision at Westminster level, Westminster-based Conservative decisions that we're all paying the price for. Now, thanks to Labour being in power, things are changing. So why not? Let's just put this alternative budget to bed and let's support the original motion where we can genuinely invest. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Howell. Councillor Lacey.
Thank you, Presiding Member. If I was to vote on this amendment, do I tell the family of a complex needs child, whilst mum recovers from cancer treatment, that her child needs to be housed away from the city because we wanted to save £24 less a year for a resident, to have less road investment and less investment overall? Do we tell our ALN pupils won't get the additional investment to help with education, to save 44 pence per week for less investment overall? The original proposal truly invests in our city, our people, our infrastructure, investment that allows for innovation, transformation and future reduction in revenue, especially covering our complex needs children and adults. And as a side note, some of you might be aware that I actually work in the technical and data sector, developing and analysing generative AI and machine learning. Aside from the Americanisms in this proposal, you have left in several tellers of AI use, lazy and disrespectful to the people of Newport, that this is how you've put this amendment in. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Presiding Member. Can we get this clarified? This has gone through and has been done by the Head of Finance and a wonderful team. Can we just have that clarified, please? Because we're not being accused of putting forward a motion which is AI. It's simply not true. Can we get that clarified, please? We have the other...
all right, okay, sit down.
Sorry,
okay. I'll ask
yeah,
okay,
please. He's not AI.
Is he original now or what? It's not the first time treasurers have come to a budget and made comments on the question.
It doesn't mean that they don't enjoy it, though. Now then, so we have worked with the Conservative group on their budget proposals. The amendments that is in front of you today was drafted by my team and agreed by the Conservative group, so I can confirm that. And it's very simply the investment in highways and a reduction in the council tax. It's a straightforward amendment.
Thank you for clarifying that. We've sorted out. Please, can we just have an apology for making allegations?
The AI tellers are in that text. So what? I'm just saying, you've put
Will you
it through AI.
stop
You've been
talking
AI.
across the chamber? No, I'm telling
Excuse
you,
me,
Councillor
sorry,
Reddy.
Presiding Member. You might have had help from the finance team to draft the figures, but the text within that has gone through AI, it's been written by AI, and the people of Newport deserve better.
Listen, let's move on, please. Right, you've had it cleared there. What someone has said, we just got to move on, please, right? Sorry? Well, I don't know if they're written by AI. Councillor Jones, what do you want to say? Sorry? Well, I don't know what you want to say. Is there a point of order or a point of clarification? Well, it's not a comment, then we move on, okay? Right, Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Member.
What's the clarification then?
As Head of Finance has said, and which I want to just allude to, basically our amendment is down to the windfall of 7.1 million. If you calculate the fact that 6 million onto the roads and onto the reduction, that's the 7.1 million windfall. The rest of the services we've not touched. So there's a loan in place, and we're not touching that. So when they keep on about the services, we're not looking at just and all that. We're looking at the windfall and spending that windfall money. So the
sorry, Presiding Member, Councillor Jones is actually wrong.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah. So, yeah, this is, look, it's getting a bit out of order now, right? Please, can you sit down and listen? You mentioned your clarification. Councillor Harvey.
Right, thank you, Presiding Member. It's fun and games in here tonight, isn't it? Right. Councillor Al-Nawami, you are absolutely correct. The services mean more than 44 pence a week. And I thank you for understanding that and saying it as it was in plain language so everybody could understand. Because we've had it increasing and decreasing, and it's more, no it's not, it's less, and it was higher, no actually it's lower. It's just been an absolute mess tonight, to be perfectly honest with you. And if it's down to me, whether it's 45p or 45 pound, I will pay it, because that will secure for the children out there, for the grandmothers and the people who are suffering, for schools, everything that we want, everything any parent wants, is for their children to be looked after, have a decent school to go to be able to live properly. Yeah, the roads are a mess. The roads... Maybe we could employ the Romans to come back and do the roads for us. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? But we are where we are. They're a mess. We're fixing them. We're investing more money than you're proposing. We are also keeping everything going by means of services. I can't support your amendment, but I thank you for bringing one, because it's made the meeting more interesting. So thank you very much.
I don't think anybody else wants to speak. Oh, sorry, I apologise. Yeah,
Thank you, Presiding Member.
He did put his name up. Sorry.
For those of you who know me, I always state the last, so I don't have to repeat everything they've said. So I don't understand them all, but I tell you the truth. But anyway, I'm sorry I can't support the amendment, Councillor Rowley. I've been sat here listening, and some words just come out from behind me as I've been listening, that you agree with our proposal, everything that's there, the money being supported. That's what somebody just said behind me, the £500,000 going into sport, into social services, the money, that is what I've heard behind me, so perhaps that can, the seconder can confirm that when he comes up. But then you want to reduce the money that we're putting into roads to £6 million, recurring, although it's not. But recurring, if that money is still there in a couple of years' time. Okay? So I'm sorry I can't support that.
Davis, and I apologise. There's a... No. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I very rarely speak in the Chamber, but I've spoken to my residents, and my residents are quite happy to pay 4.9% council tax for this year and next year. The reasons they're so happy about it is because the reason they're quite happy to pay the extra on the council tax, which, believe it or believe it not, is actually lower this year than it was last year, is because there's no cuts to any services whatsoever. But we're actually putting money into things. We're seeing changes across the city, and that is why my residents are quite happy to pay the extra. And for that, I won't be voting for the alternative. Thank you.
Councillor Fairweather.
Thank you. I have and the seconder. So thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Today, we have an opportunity to make a real difference for the people of Newport. The Labour budget asks residents to pay more whilst receiving less. For too long, well, just let me finish. For too long, Newport has been asked to absorb the consequences of financial mismanagement by the Welsh Government. Well, let's look at that, shall we? We talked about austerity, and we've talked about the money that's come from Westminster, but let's see what that Welsh Government has spent that money on. Well, should we have a look at 2.27 million lost on a defunct equipment for a green social housing scheme? No, you like this one, Will. 1.6 million for a Kung Fu Lodge project. Fabulous, yes. 5 million for a cooking bus initiative. Now, those are things where that money, they made the choices down there. Not your choices, their choices. That money could have come into local government in some form, but it didn't. They chose to waste it. And I could go on and on and on, and you know I can on this. Year after year, we see rising council tax and shrinking services, and a growing sense that residents are being taken for granted. Let's look at what we received for our higher council tax, 8.9% some years over the years. We've seen a road network in a dreadful state with potholes everywhere, and I think everybody realises that. A city centre that's been in decline. 3 weekly refuse collections in smaller bins. Our streets strewn with dog nests. Fly tipping at epidemic levels. You can't deny that. It's all there. Now, if your budget that you're putting forward today addresses those issues and waves a magic wand and puts them right, but it's not going to. We know it's not. We know it's not. Our amendment introduces financial insight. Newport deserves a council that treats public money with the seriousness it demands. This is a moment to choose responsibility over complacency, a moment to show residents that we hear them. I urge members to support the Conservative amendment. It's up to you, isn't it? You know.
Right. I think there's no one else wants to speak. I don't think now. So, yeah, the proposal, yes, but no one else wants to speak in the chamber. Right. Okay, Councillor Rheoli'r.
I don't think I'm going to delay the final outcome any longer. It is a simple choice. You either vote for the People's Amendment and you put £6 million directly into fixing the potholes of Newport at no future financial cost to them, and you reduce the council tax. With us, it's quite simple. Pay less, get more. With them, it's pay more and get less. Thank you. I move the amendments.
It's a bit disappointing when you use language like that with them, isn't it? Okay, right, let's move to the vote. Move the amendment. You've moved the amendment. Right. Vote. Okay. All those in favour of the amendment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't see online. Oh, there's and Carmel as well. Sorry? Yeah.
Alan Morris is stuck in a pot.
Councillor Hussain, you put your screen on and voted in favour of the amendment. Can I just check that's correct, please?
Too late. She's done it. Too late.
Yes, it is correct. I did vote for the amendment. No, not vote for the amendment. Sorry.
All right. She clarified that after. Councillor Hain, did you vote for the amendment?
No, sorry.
No,
I didn't. I'm not voting for the amendment.
Right, okay. Right, okay, we got the numbers then? All of us against, yes. All those against the amendment, please. Is your hand up, Councillor Rheoli'r? Oh. No, all right, we'll put it down there, all right?
He's recurring.
Well, keep your hands down then, obviously. All right, okay. All right, can we count them, please? Yeah, it's clearly lost in the amendment, so we move now to... Okay, we move now to the... Pardon?
Any abstentions?
Oh, sorry. 2 abstentions. I apologise. Couldn't see you there. 2 abstentions. Okay. Right. We move on now to the original proposal for the budget. Yeah. Any comments now on the original budget? Councillor Howells.
I'm going to move over slightly because I seem to have been a black spot by there. Thank you, Presiding Member. Could I just sort of make a point of clarification on the last debate first? The Labour group in general referred to the opposition's budget. This wasn't an opposition budget. This was a Conservative budget, and there were a few comments which said the opposition have never put alternative budgets in or comments to that effect, but we have put alternative budgets in, as the Rheoli'r Independent Group, on several occasions. And on this occasion, we did quite a bit of work with the finance officers, and I'm grateful for their time and support. We did consider putting an alternative budget in. After we worked together to do that and came up with the figures, I was able to look at the amendments which the Cabinet then made at the Cabinet meeting, and there was significant investment proposed in some of the areas where we would have liked to have seen investment. And I was able to meet with the leader and seek assurances around funding into the Rheoli'r ward, some of which he's announced today. And on that basis, we do support the budget, and we are in favour of the budget here today. So that's on the basis of funding going specifically into our ward. We would have liked to have seen reduced council tax. We are particularly concerned about the forthcoming Welsh Government elections and what that means for future settlements for the budget in Newport. Plaid Cymru have indicated potentially that more funding will be in countrysides instead of big cities. Newport's benefited generously this time around, and to reduce the council tax to 3.7 this year, in my view, would be ill-advised, given that we might not get those generous settlements in future, and we need to be investing in the infrastructure that our residents demand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I mean, first of all, can I just address Councillor Howell's points? I'm quite happy to apologise if I misled earlier when I mentioned the opposition. My understanding, because I was one of the people who said that, my understanding is that the Conservative group is the main opposition, and my understanding is that Councillor Evans is the leader of the opposition. So that was the context that I used that word in. But yeah, I totally understand and accept what Councillor Howell has said. Going back to the main budget proposal, this budget is going to allocate 40 million for schools, roads and infrastructure. 40 million. Plus there's more money to go into issues that residents regularly tell me that are their priorities. We've already mentioned fly tipping, licensing for HMOs. People talk about that a lot, and we are putting money into that. Funding for grassroots sports clubs, elite sport clubs, which again, that's such an important thing for the fastest growing city in Wales. Huge, huge issue. Extra money for schools, money for community safety wardens, and I could go on and on and on. The Tories, I'm not going to rerun the last debate, but they wanted to oppose all of that investment. And to clarify what Councillor Mogford said about my comments, totally misrepresented my comment about, I didn't say that residents would be better off with a council tax rise. That's the phrase you used. Sorry, I should be addressing this to the Chair. What I said was that residents would be 44p a week better off under their amended council tax rise than they would be under our council tax rise. They're both council tax rises, but 44p a week, £2 a month, come on. The main thing I just want to mention before I finish really now is we're putting all this money, and we're proposing to put all this money into vital, vital services for vulnerable children, as we mentioned earlier on, for grassroots sports, all the things I've mentioned already. This is only possible because we've come out of 14 years of austerity. As the leader said, this is the end of austerity. Thank goodness for that. This is the end of austerity. We can only do this because we've got a Labour government working hand in hand in Westminster with a Labour government in Cardiff that has now given us the money to do the things we've wanted to do for years. It's the first time we've had this sort of money. And looking a bit further afield, I think maybe that's something that people want to bear in mind in upcoming elections, whether we're talking Senate elections, council elections in a couple of years' time. That might be worth something to bear in mind. If we don't have those governments working hand in hand, those administrations working in London, Cardiff and Newport, working together, where's that going to leave us? Just food for thought. Thank you, Presiding Member.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. I've got Councillor Howells.
Thanks, Presiding Member. I just wanted to speak again, particularly because the condition of the roads are obviously such a hot topic right now, and I didn't want to let an overwhelmingly positive message get lost in the context of the alternative budget. They are in need of investment, and we did recognise this already last year with the 6.6 million that we've already invested, thanks to the Welsh Government funding. It's fair to say that Labour in the Welsh Government have recognised the issue as well, again a lot sooner than the Conservatives seem to have. And that resurfacing work is well underway, as you'll have all seen with Malpas Road, for example. And with the extra £15 million on top, that's over £20 million of investment into our roads. That's an absolutely massive investment. I don't think we can understate that. And it just sends a really clear message, I think, I hope, to residents, that we have heard them. We are the party that are listening to residents. We know how important the roads are. We all drive them as well, as the leaders said. And we're continuing the good work that we started last year. So I'm absolutely thrilled, as the Cabinet Member covering infrastructure, to be receiving this investment, and it's going to make a huge difference. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Howard. Councillor Druitt.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'm proud to support this budget because it's transparent and clear and puts the people of Newport first. I'm proud that today Newport is the economic engine room of Wales, and the Labour Party here in Newport is providing excellent leadership. Thank you, Dimitri, Leader. The fastest growing city in the nation, with a GDP of about £5 billion, outperforming many comparable cities throughout the UK. From healthcare to manufacturing, aerospace to semiconductors, no coincidence that new railway stations are being built at Newport West, Llanwern and Somerton. Newport is powering Wales forward. This city is a growing city, and public services must grow with it. And so we're investing, the budget invests in our highways, new machinery, faster repairs, fewer potholes. We hear what people are saying and we're getting the job done, tackling everyday frustrations. This budget strengthens anti-fly tipping enforcement, protecting our streets, our neighbourhoods, our environment. It delivers targeted action on HMOs, tackling litter, licences and abuses, so communities that play by the rules are treated fairly. Here in Newport, Labour does more with less. This council tax rise is 4.9%, well below Cyllideb's 6.25% proposed, keeping Newport the second lowest council tax in Wales. That's not luck, that's Labour prudence. Reformers beware. Fagan Farage and the Tory amendment tonight promise sweeping cuts to public services, the same tired recipe of austerity and stagnation. The Farage road is a one-way street to decline, a dead end, more potholes and deeper ones. This budget chooses the opposite path, a budget for the people of Newport. This Labour Council is laying the foundations of the city centre regeneration, putting pride back on the streets by driving growth in Newport. This budget invests, it builds, it looks forward, it backs city centre regeneration, it boosts schools and children's services, standing up for our most vulnerable children. It supports sport at every level, from elite clubs right down to the grassroots on park pitches, in improving health, opportunity and aspiration across Newport. That's why I'm proud to support this bold, prudent and imaginative budget, a Labour budget that invests in city services, your services, a budget to encourage growth, to reimagine Newport's future, a budget that puts Newport people first.
Thank you, Councillor Druitt. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Let me just touch on regeneration, which this budget is absolutely key to. In regeneration, we'll be investing more into our regeneration activities, invest more into the council budgets to increase our capital resources through borrowing. Our budget includes 270,000 to expand our regeneration team and 18 million borrowing to provide those additional capital resources alongside a further 500,000 additional contribution to the council's capital reserves. So by doing that, the vision we've got, and we'll explain probably later in the year, that we have to, and we are going to, this Labour Council, move the City of Newport forward, which I think is really key. I think also what's key, and I know the Conservative Party look like they're not going to vote for this, but I'd hope the other parties can listen to what I'm about to say, that when we talk about our residents, do we listen to them? Well, we do listen to our residents. We do listen to what their needs are. And let me quote two residents in Newport. Councillor Fairweather in 2024, the roads need to be repaired, they're a disgrace. We're exactly doing what he wanted. We're investing a lot more money than them. And there's another resident, Councillor Mogford, in 2024. We could do better with services that we provide. That's exactly what we're doing with this budget. We're doing what you asked in 2024. I think, Councillor Fairweather, I want the schools to be run properly. I want to see teachers in the classroom. By doing this budget, we are listening to the residents of Newport. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Cox, please. Okay, thank you. Please stop talking across the chamber.
That's their time, not mine, hopefully. I'm supporting this budget because it's a budget for the future. It's a budget for the future of Newport. It's the biggest investment in the future of Newport that has been seen for many, many years. And we're investing in infrastructure, we're investing in regeneration. But I think one thing that strikes me about this budget that makes me really very delighted to support it is that what we have in Newport is we have groups of people who go out every day and work hard to make Newport a better place. We have teachers, community volunteers, social workers, council workers, businesses, industry, working to make Newport a city for the future, to make Newport the city that people wish to live in. But very, very sadly, and this actually seems to be getting recently worse, if not better, there's a small group of people in Newport. And before I say this now, I accept Newport, taking Newport forward is not easy. Is not an easy task. It's an industrial city, historically built on steel and coal and on the port. It's going through a period of change. It's finding its way through to the future. And I think this budget is going to be a major step in doing that. But unfortunately, we have another group of people who, it seems to me, do absolutely everything they can to drag Newport down. People making an absolute career, virtually, of trawling up every street, looking for every fault they can find, blazoning it on social media. And I think people need to make a choice. You know, are you with the council in taking Newport forward, in making it the place we all want to be, or are you with the group who seem endlessly only interested in dragging us down? And that's the choice that is facing us. I'm pretty confident I know which way the people of Newport will actually choose, and I really do hope that if anybody's any influence on the people who constantly troll the street pointing fingers at everything they can find that is negative about Newport, I hope somebody speaks to them and tell them about, persuade them of the damage they're doing. I often actually think, quite seriously, how many jobs they cost us by trying to constantly drag this city down.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Rheoli'r.
Presiding member, thank you very much indeed. It's always a pleasure to be invited to speak by your good self. So, the situation is like this. You have, collectively, and I say you have, the Labour administration in this council have created the situation on the highways that we all agree is dire. It's dire. But it's of their creation, no one else's. Yes, they have been ignored by the Welsh Government for over 25 years, continuous Labour support, who have continuously wasted money on the M4 Relief Road, £150 million. And I could go on and on and on, but I shan't on that. When I look at the way that Newport is, and I agree, Newport probably is the powerhouse of Wales. It's the first place you come to, and it should be the powerhouse of Wales, the engine, the driving force. Unfortunately, we don't have the infrastructure to bring them here. People who would want to come here when it's potholes city, when it's emergency highway repairs all the time. You've presided over this situation for years and years. I can say this now, that your administrations collectively have done more damage to the highways of this city than the Luftwaffe had done in the Second World War.
I think that was uncommon to raise things like that. Councillor Aelodau'r.
Thank you. I'll move away from that. I did mention the consultation and the ward meeting, and they were really, the one I attended anyway, was really, how did I feel? I felt really very encouraged that people turned out to the meeting at a short notice relatively, and they were interested to comment on the budget, which would bring me really to section 4, page 26 of the report. And let me point out a very sort of, well, I would consider it a serious omission, which is no comment or no formal comment from the Newport Fairness Commission. Now, in the previous years, when we've had, austerity reigning, their comments were really very useful to see, in terms of when we had to juggle resources, we looked at what they were saying. But the last 2 years, there has been no input from them. Now, we acknowledge that on page 26, but I think we should do something about that for next year's budget. Their input is really important, and they may throw quite a big light on what we are discussing here amongst ourselves. And saying that, there is another sort of absentee here. What do sort of the businesses of Newport in the city centre say? Newport Now is not there. All these independent traders, old and new, they are not there. What is their view about the budget? I think we should solicit that for next budget. So this is what I'm recommending, presiding member. I think the consultation are an excellent sounding board for what we propose to do. And they may just help us in sort of, in years to come, in sort of directing resources where they needed. Thank you.
I think you're right. Normally, over the years, the Fairness Commission, we have asked their view. I don't know why. Maybe we can have an answer on why that hasn't happened this time. last couple of years. I just don't know.
If it's helpful, presiding member, it was raised as a question at our recent scrutiny meeting.
Oh, was it right?
I can't remember the answer, but it was raised. It is on the record. So.
Right, okay, okay. Right, I don't know why. Sorry, I thought he was raising what he was saying. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I think we can go backwards and forwards all night on this about who caused what and who did what. You know, the reality for me is that this council saw almost £100 million wiped off its budget in over 10 years of austerity, and we can blame and go backwards and forwards. The reality here now, tonight, is that this is the strongest budget in over a decade. I came in 2017, and we were faced with challenges and cuts to balance the books. We've balanced the books and we've provided an investment budget. Anybody who votes against that will be voting against that budget and the strongest investment in our city in over a decade. And I really don't think the people of Newport will forgive that. So you can disagree with how we got here, but you can't really disagree that this is one of the strongest budgets, providing one of the lowest council taxes in Wales that we've ever seen. Vote against it, and you'll be telling the people in Newport that you don't want that investment, that you don't want one of the strongest positions we've ever been in our time here. I really don't think people will forgive that in Newport, and I really hope they don't. So vote for this budget. Thank you.
Councillor Marshall.
Diolch, Presiding Officer, Member. So with speaking with residents locally, a number of them had suggested, pretty much majority of them at our meetings and through consultation, they're happy as long as they see services. And a number of them are starting to happen, that they can see things like the play areas, the parks, you know, redevelopment's been done, and they know about the roads. And I know it's a gripe with many members of and residents of Newport, but as many have said tonight, you know, there's many different ways, you know, and opinions on it, but because of austerity due to cuts, there was there, and regardless of what people say about austerity, it was there, so there's a backlog that's obviously built up. So it's now time to put that money back in investment, and this is what this budget's trying to do, is trying to address some of that and trying to go forward, so as a growing city, we can be the best, you know, the best for everyone, businesses, young people, and all our residents of the city, and hopefully, you know, all members will see that, and hopefully residents will see that overall. Thank you.
Councillor Horton, did you indicate to speak? Thank you.
I think tonight, our colleagues over here have shown that they've got very little understanding of our city, Presiding Member. Councillor Rheoli'r said that nobody wants to come to Newport to invest. You said nobody wants to come here.
No, I didn't, Presiding Member. I said that people find it hard to come to Newport.
No,
we
you
want,
didn't.
It's a power engine, it's a powerhouse, and potholes are deterring the roads, the infrastructure. You don't have it right. So we'll check it together, maybe.
We could, yeah, let's do that.
How should I go?
Right.
Councillor Rheoli'r, will you stop these comments, please, okay? Comedy hour is over at the moment, all right? Councillor.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Just a couple of weeks ago, the leader and Councillor Clark and I sat in a room with the most expensive company in the world who were investing in our city. Yes, most expensive, most valuable company in the world, NVIDIA. We sat in a room with them, they're investing in our city. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's millions and millions of pounds worth of investment and jobs coming into this city, which, if you just had a little look around, you'd see. This budget that we're proposing invests to support that. We have the youngest population in Wales that's growing faster than any other city. We need to make sure our kids are educated and well-equipped to be able to fulfil the jobs that these companies are bringing. We can't just sit and moan and not invest. You know, yes, we've got to invest in infrastructure. That's why Councillor Howells has outlined double what you proposed in infrastructure in our city. We understand our city. I'm really sorry that you guys don't. Sorry, I'm really sorry that the Conservatives in our city don't understand the needs of a modern Newport. And we can do all this. We can put this extra money in because we've Labour fighting the corner for Newport at all levels of government. So I'm voting for this Labour budget because it puts Newport first and it puts Newport into the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I don't intend to go through previous comments again, but I will add some additional ones on why I can't support your budget. Your extra money and funding schemes make some great sound bites, but really don't touch the sides when it comes to actual delivery. Take the additional £300,000 for road safety schemes, for example. £250,000 of that has been allocated to just one scheme recently, and while I'm sure residents in this particular area will welcome it, I can think about a dozen other schemes which would benefit. What about the 2 new community wardens? 2, not 20, and to be honest, I think you would need more like 200 to cover the city adequately. Then, of course, there's the historical side. I appreciate you don't like looking back, but please indulge me for a minute. Last year, you proudly announced additional funding to reopen some of the public toilets you had previously closed. Perhaps this council can be reminded of just how many have actually reopened. Nice soundbite, though. I also feel it's important to look at the sheer hypocrisy in this chamber. We hear a lot about how things can't be done alone, how we need investment from the private sector, at the same time shouts about exploiting children because private sector companies make profits and invest it. So are you going to close down all the private care homes in Newport? Do they exploit the elderly? What about private hospitals? Do they exploit children by making profits? Ironically, private hospitals are full of NHS patients at the moment, including children, because your utterly useless Welsh Government is desperately trying to get waiting times down before the elections. Finally, there's the efficiency side of the operations. The last council meeting, I highlighted some street signs reported almost a year ago now, which promised to be replaced by last September. The one still hasn't been replaced, and I still haven't been told if a street light raised last November has been fixed yet. Well, I made a point of going to check it over the weekend, and it's still not working. These aren't financial issues, these are basic errors, and the result of years of Labour mismanagement and underinvestment in modern systems. Ultimately, I guess it really doesn't matter what I say or you say. The electorate of Newport will decide if we're better off or not. But I can safely say Newport residents are fed up of being taxed to death for poorer services, and they deserve better.
Right, I can't see anybody else who's put their hand. Oh, sorry, Councillor Lacey.
Thanks, Presiding Member. I just wanted to... I wasn't going to speak. You've rang me now. Making a profit off our children, or profiteering off children, eliminate, as it is, and the money that's going in, 2.2 million, is about eliminating the profit from the children's care sector, not making a profit from children, it's profiteering where some of these companies, not all, some of these companies are putting excruciating amounts of profit on the backs of our most vulnerable children, where we as a council have no option but we need to house them in where is best for them at the time, which might be into these private care homes. Some of those can cost us up to £25,000 to £30,000 per week, and some of that is profit. Profit that's paid for by the residents of Newport, out of the council tax, out of the budget, out of the revenue. What we're doing off the back of the Welsh Government policy, the Eliminate policy agenda, is to bring as many of those children's care homes back in-house, back into the city or as close to the city as possible, so that our children can be looked after by the city for the residents of this city with their needs at the most. Saying that we don't agree with profit, or this is just a ridiculous comment. I'm sorry, this is just riled me. Gosh, I'm sorry, I'm not. Profiteering from the most vulnerable is wrong. We don't not agree with that people should make profit, people should invest back into their businesses, but profiteering off the backs of the most vulnerable is wrong, however you look at it. So investing in this budget into our children's home to bring them back home is the right thing to do.
To be perfectly honest, it's not often I make a comment, but I think I will make this comment, that when I was Cabinet Member for Social Services, I led a campaign with officers to get our children, our most vulnerable children, back home. And I think at the time we had three houses, and we bought have a farm as well, Windmill Farm. Over that short period of time, by bringing them in from the private sector, we did save over £2 million. And that's only a small part of it. The thing is, it was better for those children as well to bring them home rather than outside. So I just want to make that comment, really, that and I think there's more being done anyway. So I say I don't like, as my role here is trying to be independent, but I just want to speak up that the Council has done a lot of good work for children, bringing them back home. I've got now Councillor Rheoli'r on Teams.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. Apologies to everybody. I've not been very well, and I did get off my sickbed this afternoon to come and talk about a proposal from the Conservatives to save something like 44 pence a week. I wish I hadn't bothered. Now I'm here. Over the years, we've had Monmouthshire County Council held up to us as an example of how best practice is managed by Tories. Unfortunately, now the good folk of Monmouthshire have seen the light and have now put in a Labour authority, albeit a very thin one. But what was the magic way that the Tories in Monmouthshire kept their roads better than our roads in Newport? And I must confess, they were better. They're starting to fall apart now, but they might last for another few years, because they totally ignored the fact that they had a vast social services problem in Monmouthshire, and they just ignored it. So instead of spending money on people, which we've always done in Newport, and I wouldn't be part of this group if they weren't spending money on people. We must put people first. We've had a school closure programme in Monmouthshire. We had a school opening programme in Newport. Investments. We have investments in Newport. Maybe Monmouth is not a city, but it has wonderful infrastructure right up to the heads of the valley, which leads to any one of a number of other authorities where people could invest their money. But no, they choose to invest in Newport because Newport's on the rise again. We've had a dreadful 30 or 40 years with the closure of our heavy industries. We won't get those heavy industries back, but thank goodness we're starting to get some high technology industries back, and I hope that will long continue. And we can only do that by supporting our people and our infrastructure. Thank you, Presiding Officer. I see I'm being timed out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. I got Councillor Spencer.
Okay, I'm Councillor Spencer. Thank you, Presiding Officer. Member. I'm not going to keep you long. I just want to get up and speak quickly on my portfolio sport. Thankfully, this year I've been given £500,000 to spend on our grassroots clubs, youngsters from as young as 5 up to veterans who are still playing football, 70, 60, 50. No, there are sides out there over 70s which are playing for Newport Corinthians and whatever. And I've met a lot of these clubs, and there's still a lot more clubs to meet. And that's just football. I've got meetings coming up with rugby clubs. This week I've met with some enthusiasts of BMX biking and the lack of facilities we have in Newport. Is £500,000 going to be enough to support what they want? I'm not quite sure. But if we haven't have had the settlement we've had and put in the proposed budget we put in, would I had £500,000? I don't know. but I will do my best to spread that £500,000. And if I need more, I'll ask for more. So please support this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spencer. I've got Councillor Mudd online.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'd like to speak in favour of this proposed budget. And what I'd like to say is that I've been a councillor since 2012, and it's been really hard. Every single one of us in the chamber knows how hard and how difficult it's been. We've had to make decisions that we didn't want to make, but we had no choice because of that statutory duty to deliver a balanced budget. It's actually quite distressing to hear people being so negative about what's being proposed. This settlement should be welcomed. The fact that we've got two governments working together and Newport is better off for it should be celebrated. We should be welcoming collectively as councillors the proposed investment in services and in the people across our city, and we should support the leader that we all elect when it comes to the AGM. Cross-party support for this leader. We should support the leader and support his cabinet in implementing this budget, which will deliver what the people of Newport have told us they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mudd. I haven't got anybody else that wants to speak on the budget now, so... Right, you've got the right to speak now as seconder, yeah?
Thank you very much, and I'm proud to second this motion. And at this moment, I want to call for a recorded vote. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is not a budget based on guesswork or hypothesis. This is a budget that's been shaped by conversations on residents' doorsteps, in our community centres, and from listening to online commentary. Residents have told us clearly and consistently that fixing our roads matters. We do listen. In addition, industries such as KLA and Microsoft that are investing in Newport be offended by our opposition's commentary tonight, as they agree we are listening. This is why the budget commits to more than £18 million into road repairs and infrastructure across our city. There is a commitment to making our city safer, cleaner, and be a place that we are proud to call our home, with investment in support for our most vulnerable children, investment in housing, and supporting our elderly who need additional care. As a growing city, we know that pressure is on our schools, our school assets, and this is huge. Ongoing maintenance costs are significant. Our sustainable school building plans, which is Band C programmes, are ambitious, and the capital headroom will allow us to continue to develop this as needed and will allow us to develop a proactive programme. Setting a budget is about making choices, and we made the choice to listen, and we've set a budget that's about investment in the issues that we've been told matter. Long, strategic plans to improve our city. And we could have chosen to reduce the council tax as proposed by our opposition earlier, but we would then be cutting funding to our schools, social care and the services that hold our communities together. Therefore, I support the 4.9% council tax proposal, and with that, we are setting a balanced budget that delivers for our city. We're not into short-term politics. This is about strong leadership, delivering on what matters to our residents. We've listened and we will deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader.
Presiding Member, I would like to thank everyone for their contributions. It's been a robust debate, we can agree with that. But this is a positive budget. This is a budget for our city. This is a budget to match this city's ambitions and the services we all expect. And I'd like to thank Councillor Everest for highlighting some of the services we're investing in. We switched the street lights back on last year. We are investing in modern systems. The budget that's proposed cutting my investment of £500,000 into new modern systems. Matthew Evans is against more money for street signs. The Conservatives are against more money for Betis, more money for Bowling Moorland Park, more money for our grassroots clubs, more money for our elite clubs, more money for our children in better schools, more money for our ALN children, more money for our roads. They're against all these things. They don't want any more community wardens. They don't want any more officers for fly tipping. They don't want any more toilets open. They're against. All they know is negative and decline. That's all they ever offer. And Councillor Wellweather said, well, Labour, you might lose next year. Well, the Conservatives aren't doing great either. I remind Councillor Fairweather, but he probably has other plans for that. This is a budget that, whatever happens in election results next year, whatever happens, regardless of what happens to me, this is a budget for Newport services, for all its children, its elderly people, its roads, its parks, its schools. This is for Newport, not for political ambition.
Thank you, Leader. Right, we move now to a recorded vote.
Okay, so members, this is a recorded vote, so I'll go down the list of councillors in alphabetical order of surname, and I'll ask you to say for, against or abstain. Councillor Adan?
For the original budget.
Councillor Al-Nuami?
For.
Councillor Baker-Westhead?
For.
Councillor Batruni?
For.
Councillor Bright?
For.
Councillor Clark? Councillor Cleverly?
For.
Councillor Cochrane?
For.
Councillor Cox?
For.
Councillor Bev Davis? Councillor Deb Davis? Councillor Druitt?
For.
Councillor Evans?
Against.
Councillor Forsey? Councillor Fairweather? Councillor Harris? Don't think he's here. Councillor Harvey? Councillor Tim Harvey? Councillor Horton?
Does that mean Len?
Yes, please.
For, please.
Councillor Horahan?
For the budget.
Councillor Mark Howells? Councillor Rhian Howells?
For.
Councillor Hughes? Councillor Hussain?
For.
Councillor James?
For.
Councillor Jenkins? Councillor Jones? Councillor Jordan? Councillor Kellaway? Councillor Lacey? Councillor Linton?
For.
Councillor Marshall? Councillor Mayer?
For.
Councillor Mogford? Councillor Morris?
For.
Councillor Mudd?
For.
Councillor Perkins?
For.
Councillor Peterson?
For.
Councillor Alex Pym?
For.
Councillor Matthew Pym?
For.
Councillor Reeks? Councillor Reynolds?
For.
Councillor Routley? Councillor Screen?
For.
Councillor Spencer? Councillor Sterry? Councillor Stoll-Corton? Councillor Townsend?
Abstain.
Councillor Watkins? And that's it, if you just bear with me whilst I add those up.
While the legal officer is counting up, I think we'll have a 5-minute break after that, and I think, okay. For the budget, 7 against, 1 abstention, 2 abstentions, and 1 abstained. Okay? Sorry. 47. His writing's not very good. I'll blame him. Right, I'll go over again. 44. 44, all right? FOR, okay? 7 against, 2 apologies, and 1 abstain, all right? Okay, all right? So we move on now to item 6. Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. This is the capital strategy and treasury management strategy that's in the pack. This is our annual report focusing on the Council's capital expenditure programme and plans, the financial impact of those in terms of borrowing and investment strategy for the year. We as a Council are asked to approve both strategies for the year, including the potential indicators and the limits within them. It should be noted that both Cabinet and Governance and Audit Committee have considered the report in their most recent meetings. Governance and Audit Committee and Cabinet endorsed proposed strategies with no concerns raised. In terms of the report itself, there are a number of key points to draw Council's attention to as follows. The 5-year capital programme is now managed on a rolling basis, meaning that a new year has been added to the programme, that's 2030-31. The programme itself continues to reflect the challenging financial circumstances we're working within, and as such continue to comprise ongoing and previously approved schemes, as well as annual sums. The proposed capital programme is made up of essential schemes such as Sustainable Communities for Learning rolling programme, that's schools to you and I in layman's terms, the new leisure centre and capital works on the Transporter Bridge, to name a few. The full list is on Appendix 1. I've just announced additional investment into revenue capital for financing budget. This will increase the headroom to 35.6 million, so we can invest into resurfacing our roads, other assets to benefit the residents of Newport. This uncommitted headroom is soon for now to be spent over the next 2 years for the purpose of setting various prudential indicators and borrowing limits. But officers and the Cabinet will be reviewing and updating this as necessary. New projects that are likely to arise will need to be monitored and updated as appropriate. The current proposed programme here, which is a continuation of projects already in progress, will see the capital finance requirement reducing towards the medium term of 26-27. Based on the updated assumptions, the cost will exceed the capital financing budget in 28-29 for a few years. For this to be affordable, Cabinet approved a one-off investment of 1.5 million as part of their February meeting. This, alongside using proportional forecast unspent from the capital financing budget in 26-27, 27 and 28, will be required to ensure the Council's capital programme remains affordable, prudent, a key requirement of the Prudential Code. In terms of Treasury Management, the report details the Council's approach to borrowing and investing. It confirms that the Council is committed to being a net borrower over the life of the proposed capital programme and details the capital prudential indicators, which are similar in 25-26 but updated in line with 26-27. The MRP strategy is also included within the report. The Council also has some sizable loans which are due to mature in the short term, meaning that some new borrowing will be required simply to maintain the status quo. The Council may undertake borrowing in advance of need where there is a clear financial rationale for doing so. For investing, the Council will continue to prioritise security, liquidity and yield in that order, and will strike an appropriate balance between risk and return. A minimum investment balance of £10 million is required, which is currently being met by 3 covered bond investments and will continue to be the case over the next few years. We, as Council, are asked to approve the capital strategy for 26-27 and the borrowing limits needed to deliver the proposed programme, the Treasury Management strategy and the prudential indicators included within it, the investment strategy and the MRP policy for 26-27. We are also asked to note the increasing debt and corresponding revenue costs of this in delivering the capital programme and the implications of this both over the short and medium long term over the course of the coming years. Thank you.
Right. Is there a second to that? All right. Do you want to speak? No. Any comments on that? No, so we move to the vote. All those in favour? I think that's carried. That's carried. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we move on now to the item 7, which is the National Non-Domestic Rates Food and Drink Rate Relief Scheme. Councillor Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. This report deals with the legislative requirement for this Council to formally adopt the Welsh Government's Food and Drink Rate Relief Scheme 2637. This scheme is fully funded by the Welsh Government and will provide a 15% reduction in business rates payable by businesses that meet the criteria set out by the Welsh Government. This is an all-Wales scheme and the Council is required to formally adopt it so that qualifying businesses can benefit reduction in their business rates. This relief scheme will apply to premises that sell food or drink and will be including bars, pubs, restaurants, cafes and also venues with music. The scheme covers the whole of the city and properties must be reasonably accessible to the general public. It is estimated that around 140 current businesses will benefit from this scheme if we agree to it today. Therefore, I ask the Council to agree with the recommendation for the rate relief scheme and to delegate the operation of the scheme to the Head of Finance.
Question? Oh, I don't know that. Ventriloquist, you know. Right. Is the second to that? Do you want to speak on it? No. Anybody else wants to speak on it? Well,
I'll just make a point.
Yeah,
Sorry, Chair, can I just register an interest as my business receives this grant, please?
Oh. He wants to declare an interest in it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's noted, Councillor Horton. Just a reminder that you need to do that verbally rather than in the meeting chat, please.
Okay, thank you. That's what I just jumped on for. Thank you.
Okay. And really, declaration of interest is always best at the beginning of the Council as well, if we can. Right, all those in favour? Any against? No abstentions, I don't think, except obviously that declaration of interest there. Right, we move on now to item 8, which is the pay and reward statement. Councillor Deb Davis.
Thank you, Presiding Member. It's important that Newport City Council employees are rewarded fairly for the work they perform, and there is both transparency and consistency in how this is implemented. The intention of this report is to agree the annual updates to the pay and reward policy that previously discussed at the recent Cabinet meeting. There are no significant or of note variances compared with previous years on the gender pay gap areas or the lowest paid officer compared with the highest. Newport City Council continues to have one of the smallest gender pay gaps when compared with other local authorities across Wales, and we measure favourably nationally. All pay awards that have been agreed in year nationally have been implemented. The social partnership arrangements as part of the Social Partnership and Public Procurement Wales Act 2023 have been updated for this year using good practice guidance. The Council is committed to continuing to develop its social partnership arrangements and work with all unions through its employee partnership arrangements. Therefore, I am recommending the Council agrees this updated pay and reward policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to that? Thank you, Leader. Anyone want to speak on that? Right, we move to the vote. All those in favour? Right, any against? Any abstentions? No, so that's carried. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we'll move on now to item 9, which is questions to the Leader. Announcements first.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Just a few. Pride in Place. Earlier this month, the UK Government approved our bid for Pride in Place neighbourhood funding of £20 million over the next decade. That's £2 million per year. We were asked, they set out the criteria, and we were asked which areas we would like to choose. We have put forward, I've announced in Cabinet, but I'll say here as well, we've put forward the areas of Pill, Victoria and Stow Hill. It is mainly capital funding. There's a little bit of revenue, but it will be subject to a community board. It will not be led by the council. The council will be responsible for administrating the money and subject to auditing, but the board itself, who will decide where the money is spent, will be made up of the community. Anyone who's interested, please, when we put it on the website, go and click on the various forms if you want to be considered. We were delighted as a Cabinet to announce our bid for Cyllideb to become a town of culture for 2028. It's a first stage. It's an expression of interest. There's some tough competition. I was told Barry and Glastonbury. I think Abergavenny's in there as well, and a few other places. But I think Cyllideb can more than hold its own. It's got some major historical sites, great culture, great cultural events. I love the pubs, some great restaurants in Cyllideb as well. It's a fantastic place to live, work, and bring up your children. We think it's a worthy candidate, and we truly believe it can win. And I hope you all back us, cross-party, to support that bid. If Cyllideb win, it will receive £3 million to deliver a year-long programme of cultural events to tell its unique story. £3 million solely for Cyllideb. The Leisure Centre, some of you might have been driving past, is now visibly coming together. It's progressing well. We held a ceremony, we signed the steel as it started to be put together. We're looking at the end of this year for its complete fit-out, that's the internal fit-out. But you can start to see the lazy river construction in the two various pools, and the cafe and relaxation area. Roads resurfacing without regurgitating the debate we've just had. Significant investment, but we all know that Malpas Road needs to be done, the Shaftesbury side, and that is currently being done. Newport is the top 5 for recycling. We're 5th out of 22 with a 71.4%, the highest ever recycling figure recorded in Newport, and topping the Welsh Government's target of 70%. It's not only the best in Wales, we are one of the best in the UK. The UK average is 44.6%. So thank you, and thank all residents because it's down to them really, recycling and doing the right thing. That's made this huge difference. We've restarted the Newport Business Awards, which will put together. Will spotlight all the great achievements of our independent businesses. Again, something we can all agree on. Some great businesses in Newport, some great entrepreneurs, some great private sector doers, as I call them. And I think the judging panel have met and judged some of the businesses, and we look forward to that awards evening. There's over 300 entries we had, which is good for the first year. So it's a difficult task the judges have had to do, but they've had to whittle it down. We've got the music trail next month. We're looking forward to it, the weekend of the 27th and 28th. We have more than 100 bands and musicians performing across 20 city centre venues with all the different type of music genres. This is on top of many other events. St David's Hospice Newport Half Marathon this weekend. The Dragons and Daffs celebrating St David's Day at the Riverfront. Newport Festival of Words. Newport Live Act Fringe Festival, the Tin Shed Theatre Company powered by doing more live acts like the Fringe, and much, much more. I hope you agree, some really positive things happening in the city.
Thank you, Leader. We move on now to a question to yourself, and that's Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. So we're getting a bit of feedback from over there. I don't know if it's the... Oh, never mind. Welsh Labour abandoned their manifesto pledge to build the M4 Relief Road at a cost of over £150 million, the English equivalent of £2,850,000,000 if you compare per head populations. Since then, your government has been hell-bent on squandering millions more on useless active travel schemes, such as the cycle lane on Devon Place. The war on motorists in Newport has continued with the 20-mile-an-hour speed limits on main roads, 50 miles an hour on the motorways around the city, and talk of congestion charging around the corner. We're led to believe schemes like the Old Green Crossing and the bus and cycle lanes on the A48 road to St Mellons are apparently designed to reduce congestion. Can you explain the logic behind this, and will you reaffirm this Council's support for hard-pressed motorists?
Thank you, Councillor Evans. I'm a motorist myself, and I've already publicly declared a couple of times, and there is even disagreement in our chamber about this, but I've always been for the M4 relief. I was, and still remain so. On your point, there's no hint of congestion charges. Certainly no other administrations in place. I've never even heard anyone talk to me about that, and nor would we support that in any way, shape or form. In relation to the more Old Green Crossing and cycle lanes, the Burns Commission was an independent commission made up of different business people, engineers, and obviously Lord Burns himself. Looked at this, looked at all alternatives for Newport, recommended 58 recommendations, and set out the rationale in quite a lengthy report in 2020 about some of their logic about why they're declaring some of these schemes necessary. What I would say to Councillor Evans is it's not a zero-sum game. It's not motorists and cyclists win and motorists lose or anything like that. For any modern city across the globe, you need all forms of transport. You need to be able to people to cycle if they so wish, drive if they so wish, catch the bus, walk and so on. So I don't see it as a zero-sum game.
Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Can I thank the Leader of the Council for his reply, and thankfully that he's following on all the leaders I can remember in this Council calling for the M4 Relief Road, and also reassured the fact we won't have any congestion charging in the near future. I also accept the point about having opportunities to use public transport as well as cycle and things like that. But the main point here is we're told that these schemes are designed to reduce congestion on the M4, and this is where I'm struggling to find out any evidence that making the A48, for instance, at St Mellons mega, reducing 2 lanes for motorists is going to reduce congestion on the M4. And for the 10 or so cyclists who might use it an hour, you know, and this is a question I want to ask, is how is that going to do that? And if you say you're genuine about supporting hard-pressed motorists, there are opportunities to, for instance, there are some inefficient bus lanes in Newport. When I was Leader of the Council, I know it's a long time ago when the Romans had only just left power and things like that. But the old Sainsbury's, we got rid of the bus lane down there, and buses moved more freely because previously they were stuck behind there. So actually, there are ways of improving it, helped it for bus service users as well as for the motorists. So, you know, it's just this explanation about how these schemes are going to reduce congestion on the M4.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. As Lord Burns himself says, it's not an individual project that will make the difference. It's a suite of individual projects across the piece, inclusive of all the rail investment as well. So it's about offering and improving infrastructure in every aspect of transport, be it the car, be it the train, be it the cycle. If you look at individual projects themselves and think, well, how that's going to make things better, is missing the point. The point Lord Burns, I think, was trying to make in his report, that's why there were 58 recommendations, were you need a whole suite of these different interventions to make a difference to the M4 traffic. I personally think we need that and a relief road. I think you need all of it. I think Newport's growing so fast, you know, that we'll need the train stations, the cycle improvements, the bus improvements, and we'll need some sort of relief road, because the traffic, if the population is growing, it doesn't take a genius to work out you have more people that need to move around.
Thank you. We move on to item 10 now. Questions to the Cabinet Member. Questions to the Cabinet Member for Communication and Culture. Councillor Bright.
Diod. Recently, BBC Horizons and Brecon Cymru held their COPA event in Newport, showcasing some of Newport and Wales' up-and-coming bands. This event has received weeks of attention from Radio 1 DJs, Radio 6 and BBC Wales, attracting lots of people to the city. We also had the second music trail next month with new gigs being announced all the time. Can the Cabinet Member update me on the music trail and also give me an update on the health of Newport's music scene?
Councillor Corton.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Before I answer, can I refer to my register of interests? The BBC Horizons and Beacons Cymru event held at the end of January in Newport was a fantastic event and featured a strong lineup of established and rising Welsh acts, including the Himalayas, Half Happy, Parks, Cromer, Heddlu and the Rogues, to name but a few. The event was heavily promoted by BBC One, Radio 6 and Radio Wales, and that promotion has continued over the last 4 weeks with live sessions and social media promotion on BBC channels, as you note, and attracted a substantial audience of music fans who came to Newport Centre to see what we have to offer. And it was a useful opportunity to demonstrate to event organisers, promoters and visitors what we do here in Newport. It is really important that we provide a platform for both established and up-and-coming Welsh artists in Newport, not only to support our homegrown talent, but also to increase the visibility for Newport's music venues and creative industries. And to that end, I'm pleased to see that this year we've already had one new music venue open up in the city centre, the Queen's Academy, with another due to open up next month, the Circle, which is being opened by Urban Circle. In respect of the music trail, after a fantastic first event last year, which saw more than 90 bands, artists and acts perform across 25 venues over a 36-hour period, I'm pleased to confirm that the event will be taking place again this year, as the leader mentioned, on the 27th and 28th of March, with many more venues and more acts than last year as well. As a reminder, this is a free festival-style celebration of local and Welsh music, allowing audiences to move between venues just as they would across stages at a festival. And headliners for this year include Goldie Looking Chain, Melon Melon, Gweno, Georgia Ruth, HMS Morris, Afro Cluster and many more, delivering a mix of comedy rap, God, GLC would hate me for saying that, psychedelic, country prog and multilingual alternative music. The event is delivered in partnership with our city centre venues, including the pub, the Riverfront, the Circle, the Cab, McCann's, Aelodau'r, Arcadia, the Queen's Academy, the Cathedral, which I'm particularly excited about, Newport Arcade, the Market, John Frost Square, and so many others. And alongside music, there will be family-friendly workshops, tours, street food, and so much more in John Frost Square. And this event is definitely not one to be missed. You also ask about the health of Newport's music scene. With the combination of national profile showcases like BBC Horizons, Beacons event, the rapidly growing Newport Music Trail and a continuous flow of new gig announcements from independent venues across the city, it is clear that the live music ecosystem in Newport is both vibrant and growing. I've recently had discussions with Beacons Cymru and Music Venues Trust about how we can further support Newport's incredible talent stream, establish a career path and support for budding music creatives in the city to ensure all of our live music venues remain sustainable. Local artists are receiving greater exposure, venues are reporting increased audience numbers and partnerships with industry bodies continue to elevate Newport's position on the Welsh and UK music map as the capital of grassroots music. And long may it continue.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bright, do you want to? No. Right, we move on now to questions to the Cabinet Member for Climate Change, Waste and Recycling. Councillor Screen.
Diod, Presiding Member. I know as the Council we have been putting a real focus on tackling fly tipping and illegal waste dumping, with more money invested in the budget to clean up the mess and take action on people who make the mess. I recently heard that the Council is bringing in a policy to deal with shopping trolleys, which I'm sure residents in Dyffryn will be pleased to hear. Can you tell me when the trolley policy will kick in and what action will be taken? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Screen. The
Council remains fully committed to raising environmental standards across the city, tackling litter and fly tipping in all its forms. As you said, in the budget we've just passed is an investment in an additional clean-up team to increase the capacity to provide deep cleaning to areas most in need. I'm appointing an extra officer to increase the response on fly tipping incidents on private land and expanding our network of CCTV cameras to help identify and take action against offenders. We have formally adopted Schedule 4 of Section 99 of the Environmental Protection Act 1990, giving the Council powers to recover abandoned shopping trolleys. The policy was approved in 2025 and could only be brought into operation after completing the required legal notice period, which includes a 3-month statutory notice period. As a result, the policy comes into effect on the 26th of February 2026. From that date, residents will be able to report abandoned trolleys to the Council online, who will then retrieve them from public land. Cost of collection will be covered by charges to retailers at £100 per trolley recovered. Together, these measures form part of a wider programme to ensure cleaner neighbourhoods and stronger enforcement across Newport. Thank you.
Do you want a supplementary? No. Right, we move on now to the question of the Cabinet Member for Assets and Infrastructure. The first question is from Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Residents in Rogerstone have raised concerns with my ward colleagues and with me about potholes, surprise, surprise. I know that our dedicated officers are working incredibly hard to tackle this problem, and I'm pleased that this Council is investing record amounts, as we've heard earlier, into maintenance and repair of our roads, as are our residents, I would imagine, as well. Could the Cabinet Member please give me an update on the number of potholes repaired in the last year and share with me details of any recent work that is now underway? Thank you.
Okay. Cabinet Member.
Thanks, Presiding Member. Firstly, I really want to highlight that the highways maintenance team have been working incredibly hard in the past few months to fill in potholes. During the course of 2025, they filled 4,002 potholes, which is, I know we've talked about this at length, is why I'm thrilled following tonight's budget. We'll be supporting them further with a £500,000 ongoing uplift to their annual maintenance budget. It's going to provide much needed resources for that team, and I know what a welcome increase in resources that's going to be for them when dealing with a significant issue of potholes. And then in addition to that, our investment of £6.6 million into resurfacing the highway asset in this current year, combined with tonight's newly approved £15 million investment, which will start from April, is going to ensure we continue a comprehensive resurfacing programme that's going to prevent those potholes from occurring in the first place. And combined, as we've said, it's a huge investment into our roads. The programme of resurfacing the 55 roads using the £6.6 million we'd announced previously is well underway. Councillor Reynolds, I know you're already aware of a number of roads resurfaced in Rogerstone this year, including 2 sections of Rivermead Way, and part of the A467 is planned for March, so it's coming in a couple of weeks. I know how many residents were keen to see Malpas Road resurfaced, and that work has commenced. I went down to see work underway on the weekend and spoke with our highways projects team down there. Malpas Road is one of the more complex roads to resurface due to its location and geography, and it definitely isn't as simple as pitching up with a wagon of tarmac, if only it were. I want to extend my thanks to that team, who are putting in a huge shift to pull all the strands together, and also to the residents and businesses on the road, who've been very helpful and understanding of the importance that we get it right. Thanks.
Parliamentary. Well. Councillor Druitt.
Thank you, Presiding Member. This time last year, this Council promised to switch the street lights back on overnight in Newport. We were able to make this commitment thanks to the record budget that came to Newport from the Labour governments in Westminster and Cardiff. Can the Cabinet Member update me on the progress of this work, please?
Thanks. I'm pleased to advise that our programme of switching our streetlights back on at night was completed in mid-February, so a week ago. In all roads across Newport now, every other streetlight is on throughout the night. I know that many of our members were contacted by their residents asking for the lights to come back on. We know how important it is for our residents to feel safe. And, you know, it's important to highlight that, for example, for residents working night shifts, those waiting for buses, our elderly residents. So when we were setting out our budget and our plans for 25 to 26, we had a very clear aim to get this work done. We invested a capital sum of £320,000 to achieve it, along with the ongoing revenue costs. This was a significant project. It's taken since July last year to implement, as it involved changing the timing sensors on over 8,800 streetlights. So my thanks again to officers and the contractors involved, because actually they managed to complete this project way ahead of schedule. The message we want to send here is clear. Having safely lit streets is important to our residents, so it's also important to us. Thank you.
Councillor Monkford.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Maybe we should have colluded on this question. It's going to sound slightly familiar. The Highway Asset Management Plan 2024 to 2029 details the key commitments to repairing potholes under 4 categories, ranging from 2 hours to repair to 21 days to repair. These come under 4 categories of critical defects, which will be rectified within 2 standard hours, safety defects on carriageway, highway, strategic routes, main distributor routes and secondary distributors shall be rectified or made safe by the end of the next working day. Safety defects on carriageway, hierarchy link roads and local access roads shall be rectified or made safe within 5 working days. And finally, maintenance defects on all carriageways shall be rectified or made safe within 21 working days. Can the Cabinet Member tell us whether her department is consistently hitting those targets, and if not, then explain what steps are being taken to ensure targets are met? And secondly, does the HAMP, the Highway Asset Management Plan, specify an expectation as to how long repaired potholes are expected to last before further repairs are needed? Thank you.
Cabinet Member.
Thanks, Presiding Member. I'll answer the questions in reverse order, if that's all right. With regard to how long potholes are expected to last, the HAMP doesn't specifically state how long a pothole repair will last before further work is required, because this can vary significantly from site to site. The life of any repair is influenced by several factors, including whether the road is urban or rural, the volume and type of traffic using it, whether the location is subject to turning or braking forces, such as at junctions and roundabouts. The presence of water is also a major factor and can enter the water structure, particularly at this time of year. It accelerates deterioration through repeated freeze-thaw cycles and by weakening the bond between materials. On the other point, with regard to hitting the maintenance targets, the precise information to answer these questions is all set out in the most recent full-year service plan for 24 to 25. In summary, last year the Highways Maintenance Team outperformed their KPI targets on all of those categories you read out, but the last defect category, which is the 21 working day maintenance defects, where they were under by about 2%. As I've mentioned, both the Highways Maintenance Team and the Highways Projects Team have been working hard in a difficult environment, and I think it's important to recognise their hard work, and I hope, Councillor Mockford, you would join me in doing so. The Highways Maintenance Team have in fact already taken some measures to better meet the KPI figure, such as the employment of external contractors to assist our in-house team. In terms of what we as a wider council can do to support this team, today's confirmed £500,000 uplift to their annual budget is going to provide the resources to hire additional operatives and machinery to address these issues. So isn't it a shame you all voted against it tonight? Investment is coming now that Labour is in power in Westminster. The last 2 settlements we've received from them, working hand in hand with our Welsh Government Labour colleagues, has enabled the largest investment into our roads in living memory, a combined sum of over £20 million. our experience of driving our city's roads will be looking very different come next winter, and there's a lot to look forward to. Thanks.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Yes, we were destined after this meeting to be spending more money on the roads, whatever the outcome. Does the Cabinet Member agree with me that given considerable investment in the roads and potential upheaval, that we can do a better job in communicating to the residents exactly where repairs will be carried out? Every week as councillors we get a highway report, or road maintenance report I should say, and it's not clear to me, having looked back, that all the repairs that are done are itemised in there. Now I know this is difficult because, as I said, a 2-hour repair you can't really publicise, and perhaps it's only the last two that you can let the members know. This is good PR. If you can, we will pass this on to residents. If we can give a heads up as to when potholes are being repaired and are scheduled to be repaired, we will pass that on, and that will make us all look better. You know, there's a big negativity out there in terms of pothole repair, some of it rightly so. Let's try and do a better job in communicating to the residents exactly what we're doing. And finally, I do join with you and pay tribute to the teams that do go out and repair potholes. They don't do it under normal working hours, as I understand. They're out all hours, all weathers, which may be a problem when they're out in the rain, but they are out and they're doing their best, so I join with you commending the work that they do. But let's do a better job of communicating this to our residents. That's what I'm asking.
Cabinet Member.
Yeah, I think on the point that we were destined to put this investment in this year, I would take issue with that. We've wanted to do it for many years. I won't rehash what we've gone into in detail tonight, but it's good settlements from Labour in Westminster and Labour in Welsh Government that has enabled this. It's not some sort of divine destiny. But I completely agree with you on the point about communication, and it's something we've been looking at. We're going to hopefully this financial year, coming financial year, we'll be upgrading our software, our Mayrise software, which is what we use to sort of record and keep track of potholes. And as part of that upgrade, we've been quite clear that what we want is that ability for more automated, more clear updates to our ward councillors, so that they in turn, and possibly residents, we need to see what the software is capable of. But the goal is that we can be providing those updates more regularly and more clearly, because you're right, we do want to know, because we want to take ownership of the good news, you know, as and when it happens, and there is a lot of good news to come this year.
Sorry, Presiding Member, just a point of clarification. I think the Cabinet Member said it's the largest investment in living memory. Now, if you're very young, presumably that is true, but between 2008 and 2012, is in a lot of people's living memory, the investment was significantly more.
Yeah, okay. I know where it went as well. I think the number game is up now. I think, unfortunately, Councillor Routley and Councillor Jenkins, you won't be able to... Sorry?
It's 10 minutes for this one, so Councillor Jenkins.
Sorry, Councillor Jenkins, the one for the other Cabinet Member, that's time. No, it's Councillor Jenkins.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Flying Start provides free childcare for children aged 2.5. Could the Cabinet Member please explain how we support our young families in Newport through this scheme? Also, what programmes are being specifically delivered, and what are we doing to ensure that all families are supported across Newport? Thank you.
Thank you, Cabinet Member.
Thank you. I'm especially proud to announce that our early years team in Newport are ahead of schedule in achieving our aim of universal flying's provision across the whole of our city, importantly, eradicating the postcode criteria system. Newport is currently delivering the phased Welsh Government expansion of Flying Start childcare, which is increasing the number of 2-year-olds able to access funded, high-quality early years provision across our city. This expansion means more children can benefit from free childcare places, with additional staff and capacity being put in place to meet the rising demand.
Our Flying Start Early Years programme in its entirety is for families with children aged 0 to 4. The intention is to promote language, cognitive, social, emotional and physical development. Families receive a fully funded, high-quality, part-time childcare place, that's 12.5 hours per week, from the term after a child's second birthday into the term that they turn 3. Settings are CIW registered with highly qualified staff across Newport. Children benefit from access to learning through play, social skill development, confidence building and school readiness, supported in safe, nurturing environments. Importantly, the core elements are also delivered in Newport are as follows. We provide enhanced health visiting. Families receive regular, longer home visits from Flying Start health visitors who have reduced caseloads, providing early identification of need and tailored support from pregnancy to age 4. Midwifery support. Flying Start midwives work with vulnerable families during pregnancy to promote healthy antenatal routines and early engagement. The antenatal classes being run across our city are superb, and I've personally had the opportunity, although not pregnant, to attend them, but I've learnt a great deal. They are brilliant, and I've seen parents being incredibly well supported. In addition, support is provided with breastfeeding, working with new mothers and a focus on the expansion of breastfeeding-friendly places across our city. This matters with formula milk exorbitantly expensive, and this is so much healthier for babies, and this is a key priority. We also provide parenting support delivered by early years family workers, offering evidence-based parenting groups and one-to-one support. We have a fantastic speech, language and communication support, including tiny talkers, that's aged 6 to 18 months, and pop in and play, that's aged 12 to 36 months, delivered by our language and play officers with input from speech and language therapists. Child development support is vital and includes welcome assessments arranged from around 18 months, play-based developmental activities, transition support into nursery and schools. Finally, we also provide creche provision, short-term creches, 1 hour and 59 minutes to support parents attending health and parenting sessions. Family can register interest via the information service, which is easily accessible on our council website. The information available there is incredibly helpful. In addition, Flying Start works closely with partners, health, families first, social services, early year panels to ensure families are referred and receive the right support early and do not miss out. Thank you, Councillor Jenkins, for the question. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Member. Any comment? Right. Before we close the meeting, I just want to make a slight alteration to the date of the next meeting. Some of you in your diaries got April the 21st, but it's now the next meeting is going to be the AGM and the mayor making on May the 19th at 4 o'clock. Is that right or not? That's what I was told.
Sorry, Presiding Member. I can see a question 8.
8?
Not 8.
Sorry?
If I'm wrong, apologies.
I am got another question here.
Right.
I don't know. Who was the question?
I have a question for the Cabinet Member for Regeneration and Business Growth from Councillor Perkins.
I haven't.
Different Cabinet Member, though.
No, it's different Cabinet Member. I haven't got it here. I don't. What can I say? It's not in my. I'm happy, I'm happy to do it, but I just it wasn't here. Okay, right. Okay, then we'll look.
Sorry. This is a question from the leader to the cabinet.
No. It's a question. It's a question from Councillor Perkins to the leader. Okay, but all I'm saying, it wasn't in my pack. Okay, so all right. I'm happy to take it now. What's the matter? Councillor Perkins. I don't know what the leader was doing there, to be honest. Right, Councillor Perkins, do you want to answer that question?
Thank you, Presiding Member. Lots of events across Newport have benefited from SPF funding over the last few years, but I understand this is coming to an end. Can the Cabinet Member tell me if there is anything in place to replace the FPF for the next 12 months to continue supporting our communities? Thank you.
Cabinet Member.
Thank you so much for the question. Look, this actually is a really important question because it is about our community and our residents, so bear with me on this. But the Shares Prosperity Fund does formally close at the end of March, with the Council delivering just under 40 million of grant funding for projects under the core priority areas of communities and place, supporting local businesses and peoples and skills. Up to the end of March last year, approximately 90 projects have delivered over 374,000 individual outcomes and outputs across the city. These projects include the new splash pad at Treasury Park, access to warm spaces, over 700 sessions, delivery to successful new events, including the Festival of Words. Employment support resulted in 116 people in employment, 317 people in education or training, 1,540 people supported to access basic skills, and 81 people provided with the opportunity to take part in our work experience programme. And they're our residents. Moving on to this year, we have been able to provide grant funding to local voluntary, community and social enterprise groups, with approximately 2.2 million awarded to cover over 100 local groups to support greater access to local facilities and activities for local residents. We have supported 73 community and voluntary groups, awarded over 930,000 to them. Examples of groups who have received funding included St Michael's Amateur Boxing Club, the Beechwood Park Community Group, Newport Aces Basketball Club, Maindee Festival Association, Circus of Positivity, Kids Care for You, Urban Circle and Newport West Netball Club, but I could go on. I must take this opportunity as well to thank all the officers involved in this and getting this over the line, all our officers, because I know I can be demanding, but they've done an absolutely amazing job to get this over the line, because it hasn't been easy. But moving on, from April this year, SPF funding is being replaced by the local growth funding, and whilst details are being finalised at this present moment with Welsh Government, we expect to bring a report to Cabinet in March, setting out our investment priorities, which of course will include communities. So I leave you this. Rest assured that providing funding to our local community groups will be a priority, and alongside the 20 million of Pride in Place funding over the next 10 years, this administration is making a real difference for local people and local communities.
Thank you, Cabinet Member. Do you want to make another comment? I apologise for that, but it's not in my pack here, so I don't know. But we'll make sure it doesn't happen. Just to go back to what I was saying earlier on, the next council meeting in your diary will be the 21st of April. That's cancelled now, and the next one is going to be the AGM and mayor making, and that's going to be on May the 19th. But just remember, this is going to start at 4 o'clock rather than 5 o'clock. Okay, Councillor Mogford? I don't want you coming here earlier again. Okay, have a good journey home, everybody.